Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gears Winter Major presented by the Batman. What a weekend it is going to be, baby. We've had our Pro League for weeks upon weeks, and of course, there's nothing like a Gears Major weekend where teams absolutely turn up and show up. We got a variety of phenomenal matches coming up and live, but of course, to call the action, I can't do it myself. I got to be joined alongside two of the greatest human beings that I know in all of Gears, two of my close friends, absolute legends, Jordan Ribs, champion across 3 different Gears of War titles. Glad to be joined alongside Ribs, alongside Toby. Jordan, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. The first event in 2022. Happy New Year's. I know it's late February, but yeah, it's good to be back. It's going to be a great weekend. Gears 5 just never disappoints. Every major comes down to the wire. There's plenty of storylines. And then, of course, John, it's always great to have you back. We love having you host our events. I mean, you're a Gears OG. People don't understand. You've been in this scene for 15 years. It's just crazy to say. Over half our lives, John. And Toby, we had you on the desk before. This is your first time opening the show, but we love your insight. Great to have you on the desk. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks very much, man. And yeah, Gears 5 has been one of the most unpredictable Gears games in all of history, right? And this major coming today is as competitive as ever. I mean, it's so hard to call, especially between that top 5. I'm very excited to see how things pan out.
Yeah, Toby, you're spot on. I got to say, it's awesome to be joined alongside on the desk with my man, Toby, one of my first casting duos in all of Gears as well. Got a lot of love for my boy, Toby Campbell, a.k.a. Toby Keith. But you're spot on. I mean, usually it's like, okay, Optic Games is going to win this event. KCP is going to win this event. But this tournament, it's a toss-up. It really is. So let's take a look at what is the event overview for the tournament and for the weekend. For those that may be new to Gears Esports or just tuning in, need a little refresher. 16 teams invited, 10 from the Pro League, 4 from Challenger Points, and 2 from the Open Last Chance Qualifier. Teams will play in pool play today. Championship bracket will start tomorrow. And of course, the coveted Championship Sunday to crown a winner on Sunday. I'm excited for the entirety of the weekend. And let's take a look at the prize pool and what's at stake. Ribs, walk me through it.
Yeah, $120,000 prize pool. The lion's share of that prize pool will go to first place, $56,000. You'll see it trickle down to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and you go all the way down to seventh, eighth place, $1,500. So there's a huge gap there. I mean, that's $1,500 to split 4 ways versus a 5-figure payout per player in first place. So, I mean, quite a big gap there. I know there's like 4 or 5 teams that right now are looking to be in contention to get that first place.
Yeah, and listen, back in my day, I got 8th place at MLG Meadowlands 2007. I brought home $50. Literally $50. $200.
People don't remember that. They don't remember that.
People don't remember that. Y'all got to realize how lucky you are. I mean, literally 7, 8 to 10 times the prize pool that we're competing for today, which is just amazing. So I know the same thing. One thing that has not gone is we played for pride back then. We played for bragging rights. We just wanted to be the best. I know those Gears players still have that fire, which is awesome to see. That is for sure. And for that reason, that's why you see a lot of team changes. Obviously, KCP dominated the last 3 events, but since then, quite the Rostermania. Toby, talk me through it.
Yeah, one of the biggest storylines coming into this event is the huge Rostermania we had, which all started really with those logos right in the center of your screen. Team Noble completely split up. All 4 players went their separate way, and that's despite, finishing second in Pro League and being one of the favorite teams perhaps to win the last major. But there you see it, of course, Dyslexic, he went to E United. Fiercely went to PK, Exploits to Rebel, and Toti, perhaps a short end of the stick compared to the rest of the rosters there, has gone to Hive and struggled. But definitely the rest of the changes, of course, you have to mention Inzem. He's come straight from retirement right into Rise. Bronny entering that KCP roster. All of these different teams have been performing pretty well. Of course, the exception is, of course, Hive there. But for the rest of them in particular, the top 5 teams have all got a snack of Noble for themselves, right? And they've really utilized those players.
That's a delicious snack. It's like a fine chocolate, like a Belgian chocolate. Having any of those guys, the Noble squad on these teams, obviously elevates them. And we've seen that in the standings. Let's take a look at the standings and see how teams have benefited. Well, the Pittsburgh Knights seem to have benefited the most alongside E United, picking up Dyslexic. 2 very dominant teams throughout Pro League. Rebel right behind them, obviously also picked up a Noble member. So, of course, you see these Noble members disperse across now the top 3 teams, really, for the most part. Rise right behind them with the pickup of Inzem. And the Kansas City Pioneers, the back-to-back-to-back tournament champions in 5th place. But look at the front 5 versus the bottom 5. A huge disparity in terms of performance. But, hey, maybe Team KSO, Fury 1, Hive, Fire Knights, or Cyclone can pull the Cinderella story, the miracle story. We will see. And what's interesting is that matchups really matter, Ribs, right? We saw in Pro League quite the rock, paper, scissors game of matchups here, which makes things certainly interesting for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the top right off the bat, you see the Knights, the United, probably the two teams you think probably have the best chance of winning this event. And that loss that United had to the Knights was the first week, John. They went on a 7-win streak. They won 4 times emergence days after that. And then meanwhile, Rise lost to United, but they were able to beat 3-0 KCP, one of their bracket demons. So for them to get that win in Pro League matters so much, right, John? They need to win this weekend if they run into KCP. Then, of course, Rebel losing to KCP, but taking out their Latin American counterparts in the Knights. So that's a huge matchup. Who's the best Latin American team? We talk about it time and time again. Rebel able to actually win versus the Knights in Pro League. One of our closest matchups throughout the whole season was that matchup. Came all the way down to the wire. Map 5, I believe it was a Canals, sniper headshots left and right. So I'm looking forward to see if those two teams match up maybe in the championship bracket.
That's right. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how these matchups play out, and obviously in pool play, we'll go through the pools in just a moment, but then obviously also as well in championship bracket. With that said, it's not just the teams that came from Pro League. We also have our Challenger Series, in which case, well, the Wichita Wolves absolutely dominated, something we've never seen before. Rahib is talking about the Challenger Series.
Yeah, they went 28-0 in overall matches, undefeated, just undisputed best team. The former pro players on Wichita Wolves, I mean, you have PushyZ, you have Rocky Zoom. These are players that we know about, right? But the bottom line is, they are our first team ever in Challengers to win every single event, week in, week out. So you look at them, 3 other teams come out of Challengers, but they're Latin American teams. They're the only North American team coming out of Challengers, and they're coming with a chip on their shoulder. When you do that well, I don't care if it's Challengers, I don't care if it's a pub match, you're going forward thinking you're unstoppable, and that's the mentality that they should have throughout this weekend. Maybe a Cinderella story, Toby. I mean, we don't really see a Challenger team get into maybe Championship Sunday. It's one of those stories that you want to build up on. And if there's ever been a Challenger team that has something to prove, I think it's Wichita Wolves.
Love it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just the fact that the lower level teams of Pro League having, arguably some of the worst records we've seen, right, because of how competitive it's been out the top 5 and, all those great teams there. Wichita Wolves will be looking like maybe we can actually really take it to the bottom half teams and prove that we're suitable for the Pro League next time.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just the Challenger teams, though. It's also our open bracket teams that qualify at the last chance qualifiers, right? Some great stories there. It's what you love about the Gears format. It always provides the opportunity for that Cinderella story. And here's our open last chance qualifier. Toby, talk me through this.
Yeah, of course, the thing that jumps out to you immediately, right? Top of the screen, Retirement. They stormed through this open qualifier, 3-0 Hayabusa there in the finals. And it's a very interesting team, actually, this one, of course. There's a hint in the name, Retirement. Look who it is. Kenny and Summons joining forces, of course. Former Optic Gaming members, we mentioned them earlier, from the Gears 4 days. The third player is Cells, and rounding out their squad, the fourth player, which I'm sure you would like to talk about in particular, John, is Cinemas.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best stories that I've been looking forward to for literally 7 to 8 years now. Cinemas summons his little brother. We now have the Ascension Brothers duo competing on the same squad. We've known Summons has had a few brothers and a large family for a long time. We know his brothers kind of been on the up and up, and finally we get to see them playing together. And obviously the big story there is Kenny Cells made the switch to Halo, back playing Gears and competing again. It's good to see those guys back. Listen, at the end of the day, we all love Gears. It always pulls us back because it's our home. It's the reason I'm here every single tournament, and it's going to be awesome to see Kenny and Cells, of course, formerly from Hive, Kenny from Optic Gaming and United, competing again. And let's see where that shook out for them in the pool play, because they could actually disrupt pool play quite a bit here. Let's take a look. Pool B, Kenny to play against his former team alongside Summons, United in Pool B. That'll be an interesting one. You'll see Pool A, PK, Hive, Wichita Wolves, Hayabusa Clan. Also a pretty stacked pool. Just Wichita Wolves can be another one of those kind of dark horse teams. Let's take a look at Pool A in particular. Toby, break it down in more depth.
Yeah, of course, it's a very comfortable group for PK, men, you would argue, right? They should be looking to storm through this group with how well they've been playing this past Pro League without maybe even dropping a single map, you might argue, honestly. So it would be a really good mental preparation for them, I think, for the bigger games ahead this weekend. Of course, Hive, I mentioned it earlier, disappointing Pro League, arguably, because of the amazing players that are actually on that roster, of course, notably Toti. Let's see if they can turn it around now that we're into the major. Wichita Wolves, we've been talking about them, the unstoppable Challenger team. They'll be looking to cause an upset towards Hive in particular and see if they can finish top 2 in this pool.
Yeah, that's right. And then, of course, we have Pool B, Ribs talking through Pool B, and then y'all just keep rolling, Toby. You talk Pool C, Ribs, you talk Pool D right after.
Yeah, of course. I mean, right off the bat, you see United on the top. Keep in mind, they're on a win streak. They have looked unstoppable. They won E-Day's playoffs. But yeah, you talked about retirement. That's Kenny going right against his team. Once he retired, you didn't expect him to come back the very next event, right? I have to put retirement in quotation marks because Gears players always come right back. But then, of course, Fury 1, they're like the freshmen. They're their new team on the block. And they've had a decent run in Pro League. They got a couple wins. And then RDMK, of course, being a challenger team. We'll see if we can get some upsets in that pool.
And then, of course, Pool C. It's the LATAM pool, many would argue, right? Rebel, Team Queso, Fire and Ice in particular, our Pro League teams. Rebel, of course, finishing third. An excellent Pro League this time round in the split. You know, usually they've underperformed in Pro League, arguably, compared to their major performances. Perhaps now they have the great stepping stone to lead in this pool and defeat their LATAM counterparts. Team Queso as well had a really good performance in the major last time. Of course, they weren't a Pro League team then. They are now. Let's see if those two can, secure those top two spots in Pool C. Living Esports perhaps will be looking to take down Fire and Ice.
And our final pool, right off the bat, Pool D, you see Rise and Pioneers. It's going to be the matchup of the day later tonight. I can't wait to see that match. As I said before, Rise was able to win 3-0 versus KCP in Pro League, so that'll be a little bit of a grudge match. And I honestly want to call this the death pool, which sucks about that for Team Cyclone. They didn't win all throughout Pro League, literally winless, our only winless team. And then they come right into a pool with the Rise Pioneers and Casa de Papel. That's going to be a tough one for sure. But like I said, keep in mind, match of the night later tonight, Rise versus Pioneers. That's going to be a great one.
Oh, baby. And why is it that Pool D is always the pool of death? It's like, he obviously has to be, in the name. It feels like that's always the case. But that's, of course, going to be the one that we're going to want to keep a close eye out for. Rise versus KCP tonight. Mark your calendars, my friends. And really, KCP is a big story of this tournament. And I want to double down on them in particular. I mean, back-to-back champions, dominant, looking to be the next dynasty, and then a huge announcement. PushyZ announces he retires, moves over to Halo. Is the KCP win streak going to end here, Ribs?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, it falls on the shoulders of Bronny. You look at these stats right here. Split 1, keep in mind, that was with PushyZ, and Split 2 is with Bronny, right? Taking PushyZ's spot. The stats aren't that different, right? But those are Pro League stats. That's not talking about weekly tournaments, which they dominated in the past, but they haven't been. And then, of course, if you go towards the majors that they've been winning back to back to back, it always sucks, John. I mean, it's only happened a few times in Gears Esports where a team has won and then made a roster change. This time it is PushyZ walking away from the game. We're going to miss him. Whatever he does in life, he's going to be amazing at. That kid is one of my favorite players to watch. Now it's on Bronny. He's the immediate scapegoat, Toby. And you know how that is in Gears. It doesn't matter whose fault it really is. There's always that one player that you kind of scapegoat. And I love those storylines because that
time out, Ribs. Time out, Ribs, a.k.a. Barack Obama, the politician on stream at all times. I asked you a question. Are the Kansas City Pioneers going to lose this event, yes or no?
I was getting to it, and
okay. You were getting to it 9 years later.
I want to root for the good Bronny, right? Everyone who's kind of giving him the scapegoat clause. I think he could turn up this event. I think he can do what PushyZ did. I think KCP can win another event. Will they win another event? It's yet to be seen. I can't tell you. It's only day one, John. Give me at least a couple of matches to watch to see what form
Listen, we want some bold predictions. I want an answer. I think they can. Will they? I don't know. You're beating around the bush. Yes or no? Is KCP winning?
KCP, yeah. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to do it.
Oh, damn. All right, Ribs. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. Drop the mic, bold statement type of moment. On the flip side, we got United. United's been on the up and up. This is a team of former champions. Power is obviously one of the greatest in the recent modern Gears esports era. At the end of Gears 4 and Gears 5, they've been dominating, Toby.
Yeah, the one team poised to take advantage of the arguably weakened KCP team this weekend is this roster, right? They've gone through trials and tribulations since Gears 5 release, right? Losing story players like Mental, Explosive, Praised. They've tried so hard to recapture that optic Gears 4 days of old that we were touching upon earlier. But of course, more recently, they of course lost Kenny, who wanted to try out Halo, right? And in his place, they got Dyslexic, one of those incredible noble players who seems to have honestly slotted in very comfortably. He's energetic, he's animated in game, he's aggressive as ever, extremely confident. And it's for this reason that United, arguably, at least in my mind, are the favorite team to win this major, especially when you consider the E-Day performances they've been having recently. They have been simply unstoppable in those.
All right, so I asked Ribs directly about KCP. I'm going to ask you directly as well. Is United winning this tournament?
Yes, I think United will win. Yep.
We got some fire already. It's only Friday. That gets me excited.
Let's go.
We got Toti picking EU.
Well, yeah.
We got Ribs picking Kansas City Pioneers. I'm excited to see what Ryan's pick is later. Obviously, our third analyst will be joining us on the desk in just a little bit. But obviously, one of the biggest storylines we haven't talked about yet, we've been talking NA, is LATAM. Let's take a look and talk through the fact that LATAM has made it to 7 of 8 Gears 5 major finals. We didn't even realize that. Our production team and everyone just kind of digging through the data and was like, wait a minute, wow. 7 out of 8. And they have yet to win a championship ever. In Gears esports history has not been done. 0 for 7, by the way, in Gears 5. I think 0 for 3, 0 for 2 maybe in Gears 4, as we know that Splice roster made it in Paris. And yeah, it's just crazy to think about. So will this be the time? In Pittsburgh Knights, first place in Pro League, a really, really great upgraded roster with Fearsley joining that squad. That's a really big storyline for me. So hey, y'all going with them? I know where LATAM Fools is probably going to be. I'm going to +1 that. I'm saying Pittsburgh Knights winning this tournament. LATAM's going to hoist the trophy for the very first time. I'd love to see it. But if you're a fan of Pittsburgh Knights, E United, Rise, doesn't matter which team, KCP, the rest, let's take a look at the main broadcast schedule so you can see when your favorite teams are playing. Circle it, screenshot it. Fun fact, you can press Windows Shift S on your keyboard and you could actually take a snipping screenshot in real time. It's a great shortcut, great key for you. So you can mark whichever match you want to watch. We're going to be kicking off with Hive versus the Wichita Wolves. We'll be going live with E United versus Retirement, that grudge match of former teammates right after that. That'll be a fun one. And of course, so on and so forth throughout the day. We'll be wrapping up with a marquee matchup between Rise and Pioneers at 9 p.m. Meanwhile, on the Bravo schedule, take a look as well. The biggest one we have to highlight, well, it's the 3 p.m. matchup. The Pittsburgh Knights versus the Wichita Wolves. That'll be a bloodbath. So much fun to watch. We're kicking off with the age-old rivalry, Rebel versus Fire and Ice, 2 LATAM-based teams. Right away, to start off the Bravo stream, you can, of course, watch that action at twitch.tv/UMG Gaming is our Bravo stream, in addition to the main Xbox channel here. Shout out to Lennox, shout out to the Xbox team, shout out to the Xbox family. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And with that said, for watching, we'll give you a chance to watch and win, as we're giving away some goodies. When I say goodies, I mean we got some giveaways. All right, take a look here. We got the blue microphone that we'll be giving away for anyone trying to podcast, get their stream started. The best microphone in the business, of course, Astro headset, and then the eSwap controller you'll see on screen as well. In addition to all of our in-game cosmetics and skins, these will be given away all weekend long at live.gearsofwar.com. We got hardware, we got some skins, we got a little bit of everything just for watching and winning. We're going to reward you. Appreciate y'all being here. Thanks so much to the Gears fam for being here. And not only that, we got another little treat for you. It might not be a giveaway, but it's a top 5 plays from the Split 2 Pro League. And let me tell you, they were pretty. Let's take a look.
Both go down, but he gets one. Great shot on another one on the Vexes. He does it. The king of Latin America, standing tall. Can he land another one? He gets a triple kill.
Wow.
And exploits. Stand tall. Demon, did he get spotted out is my question, because he could be a sneaky force to be reckoned with. And no, he does get spotted out. It's a Cell who comes up big. He gets 2. Crash gets 1, but a Cell completes the hat trick and controls the hill. They can win off of this hill, Blaze.
They could win off this hill. They need 54. And it's going to have to be Rebel who has to quickly get back into it. The flashes are going down. The shots are there. It's a Sales who's going big. He's looking for the second kill, and he's going to get it. He gets the third.
In the bottom end of things, Pittsburgh Knights, they were going for a push. They want to finish him off. And Prob's going to get the opening kill onto Dezo. Raver, though, he might be able to get a 2-piece. Doubles around for the second, going for the third, and he will get it. Raver gets the 3-piece to put Pittsburgh Knights in full control.
PK will have to rotate around.
I think United's going to try to pressure out here this way as well, because of the fact that I think United wants to try to push toward this next hill. Beautiful double! Beautiful double! Beautiful triple!
Addvers is going to go down as well. Toti's here with that incendiary. This is danger zone for everybody, and it's going to be the danger zone for Chavi. Another one out, and it looks like Toti's staying alive. Yo, I'm staying alive. Staying alive. Toti's got one to go. He's so, my man's got weight, and he's throwing it around. Hit me with the replay. I love Toti. Hit me with it. That's my best friend right there.
Bro, I literally get the chills watching. I mean, listen, Ribs said over half my life, which I didn't even realize, Ribs. Thank you for dropping that knowledge. It's been over half my life in Gears, and I still get the chills and get so hyped watching those plays. I mean, there's no other game where you can consistently put on a highlight reel, make a play for your team, double, triple kill, do something insane. Wow. I mean, that was just an unreal display of skill right there and talent. Obviously, with the tuning updates that came through about over a year ago now, it's good to see Gears back. A little bit slower, a little bit more precise, Ribs.
Oh yeah, I love the methodical version of Gears that we have, and then there's just so many different play styles with this update. I mean, you get the fast playing players, and then you get players like Toti with the top play of the season. Shout outs to Hunter, of course, with editing those weekly top plays, and those we picked are the best plays. And then that last one, a 3v1 on execution, you can't write that in a script any better. I can't wait to see those plays throughout this weekend.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, enough of us as talking heads, old heads of Gears. It's time for gameplay. We got our match right around the corner. It's Hive versus the Wichita Wolves. Let's start to preview it a little bit. Toby, talk me through this Hive roster. What do you think they got to do to beat this Wichita Wolves team who's been dominant? Obviously, they, of course, are the ones coming from Challenger.
Yeah, well, first of all, of course, Toti, mentioned him earlier, a really good pickup, of course, for this Hive roster, and the star player. Meanwhile, you've got Kardia, you've got Addvers, you've got Gary. This is really an all-star roster that you'd expect, looking at the names on paper, to do a bit better in Pro League, right? Perform a little bit better. They didn't perform the way that they really should have, and now I'm hoping that they look towards this major as a really good opportunity now to really do well and prove that they can perform at the top level, just individually, right? Their talent alone, even if their teamwork is lacking, they should be able to compensate a little bit in that area at least. I'm hoping they turn up for the occasion.
Yeah, you said it brilliantly. On the flip side, we got the Wichita Wolves, Ribs, who dominated Challenger. Of course, not a Pro League team, didn't get the Pro League experience, but boy, oh boy, they're looking very good.
Yeah, like I said, they're coming in with a lot of steam, undefeated in challengers. And like I said, former pro players on this roster. You get PushyZ, Zoom, Rocky, and BODIEZ. These are all players that have the mechanical skill to match up with all of our best players in the Pro League. This is a measuring stick for them. They're going against a 3-6 Pro League team, but this is a team that's hard to beat. This is a team that's very sound in their gameplay, their strategy. So on the side of Wichita Wolves, yes, you're going to have to slay out, but you're going to have to show that you could play, execute properly as a team. It's not just about that individual gameplay. I'm talking about Rocky. I'm talking about Zoom. These are players that are going to get highlights back to back to back. But can they win the team fights? Can they win the objectives? Can they make the smarter plays? Can they position themselves in the right spot at the right time? This is stuff that Addvers and Toti does without even thinking, right? But on the flip side, it's going to be tough to make sure the Wichita Wolves outsmart the side of Hive.
Yeah, that's right. And one player I'm really just looking forward to watching, and just what a story it's been, PushyZ. I remember talking to PushyZ. He was 12, 13, 14 years old back in Gears 4 at an Xbox Live party and saying, hey, bro, put in the work. You'll be next. And here he is now. Obviously, his Dream Conspiracy played really, really well in the last major, made some noise. And, pro player then, trying to get back to the pro ranks right now. And we know this team has the talent. But again, Hive is such a good all-star, star-studded roster. Toby, you set it up perfectly. So it'll be a close one. It'll be a bloodbath. It'll be really a matter, and it comes down to maybe even picks and bans. And on that note, let's take a look at our new picks and bans format here as we talk through the maps on display. Ribs, get started.
Yeah, this is the first time we're going to see a ban screen. We have Wichita Wolves banning out Spire Control on the first map. Fourth map, they're going to get rid of Checkout Execution. Very smart pick there. On the side of Hive, Toby, we're going to see them ban District, Canals, and Harbor. So those are our bans, and we'll see our picks in a few. But what do you think about that, Toby?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got a huge amount of data, right, of course, on Wichita Wolves, given that they've been just storming through the ranks in challenges. But in terms of your map bans, right, it's your typical rid of the less played maps, right, the inexperienced maps for these teams. Canals is played less, Spire's played less, Harbor especially is played less. I think both teams have been pretty safe, I want to argue, with these bans.
And no, go ahead, Toby, walk us through this.
Yeah, sure. Well, a pick of Ritual, no surprise there. That's been becoming so much more popular in the last in this split, right? That we've just played. Ephyra Execution coming through for Hive. Vasgar Escalation coming through, interestingly, for Wichita Wolves. I'm sure they'll be very happy with that. TG is a very strong map for Hive, so we won't see that today. Meanwhile, Reactor. This is quite an interesting pick actually from Hive in particular, because they were 0-3 in the Pro League. They lost to Team Queso, Rise, and PK. I'm not sure if they've got some hidden intel on Wichita Wolves, but that's an interesting one for me for sure. Regency is a really good map for them, and I'm surprised they haven't gone with that. Meanwhile, Clocktower Execution, that could be a very interesting one, especially with the players of Wichita Wolves. We know what they're like. You touched upon them: fast, aggressive, in your face. Really, the players to make highlights, right? As you said, Rebs, and I think that mid-wall aggression, that plays for the snipe, could really benefit them there. Perhaps they have the edge on map 5 if we do see it.
Yep. I love it. Well, hey, based on the map, picks and bans, and just in general, we'd love to hear your thoughts on keys to victory for both of these teams. Let's start with Hive and let's start with Ribs. What are the keys to victory for Hive?
Yeah, so for Hive, it's going to be come out with confidence. Remember, you're a pro team. Take advantage of Wichita Wolves' emotional playstyle, and then give Toti a Lantern. Obviously, he spawns out with a Lantern, so that's a plus. But what basically the point is, he's top 4 ranked in Pro League in damage per 10 minutes, which I love that stats. Shout out to our statistician, all the UMG guys doing that. But yeah, I mean, Toti's the type of player that can take over the game, but by doing it as a support player, putting out damage, communicating, directing the troops, and I love these keys for victory for Hive, and it's just honestly another one. Just stay consistent. You don't have to do the extra things with Hive. Just be the better team, because you are the better team.
On the flip side, we of course have the Wichita Wolves. Toby, talk me through their keys to success.
Yeah, simple, really. Stick to the basics, right? You went undefeated in challenges, and that's the thing, right? When you have such a streak like that, you will be high on confidence. I don't want them to change that mentally, right? They should just stick to what they've been doing so well, and they should be able to take it to Hive. Don't let the Pro League team moniker really influence them there. And then, of course, the one that stands out statistically is Control, right? It's arguably, definitely Hive's weakest game mode. There you see on the screen, 2-7, their record. They were 4-4 in execution for comparison, and 3-6 Escalation. Arguably, I think Control is the advantage there for Wichita Wolves to take advantage of, especially given the maps. Again, I'll go back to it. Reactor pick in particular, it's an interesting one for me from Hive. Curious to see how that one plays out in particular.
That's why I love having Toby back, the king analyst himself, with the stats he brings to every single broadcast, the prep. I appreciate you, Toby. It's always awesome to see. And hey, on that note, will that prep make an impact? Because guess what? It's time for predictions, boys. And we're going to be keeping a record to see, actually, I don't know, production, can you keep a record to see who's going to win the predictions here in the predictions contest? If possible, that'd be fantastic. Toby, let's start with you. Who you got winning this one?
Yeah, so I'm actually going with Hive for this one, and I'm kind of just banking on that individual talent that I spoke about earlier, right? Those 4 players, they're so incredible, and I'm surprised, actually, when I looked at these players originally, how they finished so low in the Pro League, especially when you have Toti leading from the front line as he does, right? Very surprising. And I'm hoping right now that they're going to use that experience that they've had in Pro League, gone through those trials and tribulations and the difficulties, and really just turn up in the major. Toti definitely did, right? With Noble previously, Kardia, Addvers, etc. Gary, I think they can do it against Wichita Wolves. We haven't seen enough of Wichita Wolves, arguably, because they've not been in the Pro League. I'm just kind of banking on the fact that Wichita Wolves hasn't had competition just around the caliber of Hive just yet. I'm curious to see if they can actually take it to them. I don't think they can. I think Hive will take it.
All right, Ribs, what you got?
Yeah, I say Hive is a safe pick, and I think I'm going to go with the Wolves this time around, actually, because we looked at the maps, and honestly, Control is going to be a weakness for Hive. But honestly, that first 2 maps, I really like those first 2 maps for the Wolves. And we talked about they're coming in headstrong. They're coming in with a lot of momentum. And there's a reason why this is our first match of the day. This is a huge upset alert for Hive. They didn't have a great Pro League showing. Meanwhile, the Wolves have been undefeated. So I want to start right off with the bold pick. Wichita Wolves, they are going to be that challenger team that kind of breaks into the top 6 this event. And I think they're going to start here by beating Hive 3-1.
You love to see it. You think, obviously, it's a bold pick, bold prediction. You're going with the Wolves. I'm going to join you with the Wichita Wolves. I'd love to see the young gun in PushyZ perform. I talked about him earlier and highlighted him earlier. We'll see if they can do it against a Hive roster that is so experienced, so talented. But you know what? I'd like to see an upset here to kick off Gears Winter Major, presented by the Batman. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's, of course, get ready for the action. Before we throw it to our casters, however, we had a chance to catch up with Rocky from the Wichita Wolves. You already know we had to have our man Colin sit down with him. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I've got one of the best players on the planet who is looking to help his Wichita Wolves teammates cause some absolute ruckus this weekend. The one and only Rocky. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. And you?
I cannot complain at all. 5 straight weeks of dominance down there in Challenges. Only 2 maps dropped. What do you attribute that kind of beatdown to?
I mean, the major's right around the corner. Like, us forming this roster, we just want to defeat the defending champions. We want that chip, man. Especially me out of everyone. I want that championship.
So you've gone back to what I would call the well. You've come back and reunited with one of the teammates that you formerly had in Zoom. Do you believe that adding Zoom and then a young gun like BODIEZ to your roster kind of gave y'all an edge over everybody else and has allowed y'all to become as explosive as y'all are on the map?
Well, yeah, 100%. If you look at our roster, we're grinders, man. Like, we put countless amount of hours and time into this game. Like, every day we're scrimming, we're watching 1 hour, 2 hour VOD before we scrim. And after that, we're just like talking about our mistakes. And you can't forget about Jedi too. He's an amazing coach.
Oh,
Like, he's
without
helped
a
us a lot.
doubt. Can't forget about Jedi at all. He's been great for a lot of teams' success in the past, and I hope he's helping y'all out. I know that guy's got the eyes in the sky. Let me ask you this. You look at your pool. How do you see you guys finishing out? Do you see it being a 3-0? Are you guys going to come out and get slept on by that Pro League team, and y'all are going to come out and put everybody to the bricks?
I mean, yeah, when we're all synergistic, like, we determine how we play. Like, we adjudicate the way we play. And moving on to, like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially Friday, like, that's the most important day. That's the way I see it. I feel like we could go 3-0. Like, as long as we're warming up before we hop on, talking, communicating, compose, momentum is a huge thing. And I feel like PK, out of every team, I feel like PK is going to be a team to, like, ego chow. Like, kind of like, oh, these kids aren't challengers. They done nothing. That's the way I see it. And I feel like we're the underdogs. Like, we could upset them 100%.
And I'm going to ask this because I really look at you and PushyZ as being two cats that could come out and really dominate the field of battle on any given map in the entire competitive cycle. Having that guy back on your roster after he goes away to try to make a name for himself with Elevate, now y'all have reunited. Y'all had some situations happen. Do you look at it the same way? Do you say, hey, look, PushyZ, you and I can put all this under the dirt. We can bury it and we can go back out on the battlefield and make noise like nobody's ever seen?
Oh yeah, 100%. I love Rick, man. I love my whole roster, and I'm glad to be around people that want to grind, want to be better, want to do things to help us achieve that chip. Like, the closer and closer, like the little baby steps that you got to take. And yeah, Rick is an amazing player, as well as the three others, including Jedi.
You have got some incredible players around you. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do this weekend. Shout out to the Wichita Wolves picking y'all up just before this major, putting that brand on the front of your jersey. But as we all know, the names on the back are going to show up and show out for all of their fans at home. Thank you for your time, Rocky. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. I appreciate every caster, all the gears for doing this. Appreciate you guys.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are about to get into our first series, Hive versus Wichita Wolves. This is one I was personally excited for. Jacob, it's going to be a great day. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, feeling fantastic. Just like you were excited for this matchup, I'm just excited to see what the Wichita Wolves can bring to the table, because we know big fish in a small pond that is challengers is one thing, but when you enter that wide ocean of pro league players, you definitely have your work set out for you.
100%. You know, I had a chance to talk to pretty much every pro we interviewed, and after we did the interviews, and had a bit of a discussion about the transfer from challengers to pro league. One of the biggest key takeaways that I took from asking that question to multiple pros was, in challengers, you know, everybody's mechanically sound, you expect that, but you can make mistakes and the other team isn't necessarily going to capitalize off that mistake. But when it comes to pro league, the smallest mistake, Jacob, you can be punished severely for that, and that could be the difference between a W or an L. So Challenger is a much different ball game, but let's not kid ourselves. Hive, a great team. We've been excited for Toti building this roster up with his leadership, but Jacob, they haven't really found that much success. They barely and narrowly avoided relegation in 8th place.
Yeah, it's slightly a little bit of a worse version of that Elevate roster that we seen last split, to where they started off the season hot. Honestly, they were surprising a lot of teams. They had a very, very aggressive play style, but slowly but surely they kind of fell off. And I think very, very similar to Hive. They were taking a lot of teams by surprise, but slowly but surely they kind of fell off a lot of these teams' radars. But the Wichita Wolves, a very, very hungry roster. I like the way you said it. You kind of slip up. You're not on the same page. You go left instead of right. And for Hive, this is where they could all be on different pages, and the Wichita Wolves be on the same page together. So this first match to start off our major is going to be very, very telling, not only for the Wichita Wolves, who we're talking about the practice, but for Hive, who I've said has seen a downward trend as of recently.
a big downward trend. And not to mention, they also had to unfortunately forfeit their last Pro League matchup. They also forfeited their spot in Emergence Days, split to playoffs. Granted, this was due to personal reasons, and I get that. But
they should have called me up.
Jacob, we should always be calling you up. You've been wanting to fill in on E-Days. You've been wanting to fill in Pro League. And Jacob, I know you can play. You're a competitor at heart,
I got
baby,
the
all right?
E-Swap X controller. They're ready. They know I can play, bro. They got the two chains.
Hey, man, you looking fresh today.
This weekend, bro.
What you guys don't know, he put on one chain. He said, how am I going to be 2 chains without 2 chains on? And he went quickly right before we went live and grabbed another chain. You got to respect the hustle, right?
You got to respect the hustle, man. I'm around Ozuna. I'm around them QC rappers, man. They teaching me how to be fresh. But I might have to give you the chain, man, because you're the reigning. You're the defending. You're the prediction
Twitch
champion.
That is.
They don't count, bro. They don't count. We
They
can't
do,
send.
but they
We can't
won.
send thousands upon thousands of trophies out. So we have to give it to you.
I was just expecting, man, we create here. I tell you what, we do have well, anyways, enough on that. I was going to say we do have a trophy in one of our channels, but regardless, though, Jacob, this is going to be a great series, and Wichita Wolves has been the most hyped up team, in my honest opinion. And one of the rosters I was very excited to see compete this weekend. Didn't have a chance to watch some challengers, I can't lie, but I am a fan of Rocky. I'm a fan of this roster in general, especially that Rocky and Zoom are competing once again. If you guys don't know, these two competed on that Mars lineup way back in the day. I say way back in the day, probably like 8 months ago, I guess. I'm not really good with timetables. I'm like a dog. Time just doesn't exist. But when it comes down to Rocky and Zoom, they were so good. Zoom was that Swiss Army knife, and the fact that he's joined by PushyZ and BODIEZ now makes me really excited. And also, too, Jacob, I had a chance. We saw that Rocky interview that Colin just conducted, but I also had a chance to speak with Rocky afterwards. And the amount of work, dedication, and time that they have put into researching their opponents and even breaking out the bracket and thinking matchup to matchup to matchup and how they should play it and how they should do their pick and bans really spoke to me. These guys are looking serious.
No, they definitely are. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily kind of put note on when they're trying to think about predictions, trying to think about how these matches are going to go. Most of these guys for the Wichita Wolves, they had that taste of the Pro League before, and then they lost it. And people don't understand how much that drives a person. When you taste that type of, I wouldn't say victory, but that type of accolade, and then you lose it, you do everything in your power to reach it back. And these guys, yes, everybody wants that prize money at the end of the day, but it's bragging rights. It's the glory to call yourselves one of the best. And honestly, when it comes to the Wichita Wolves, even though they're a challenger team, I do think they have some sort of a bit of a ranking above them. Because honestly, I wouldn't put them at the bottom of the Pro League rankings either. So I do think they have what it takes to topple over this matchup, to start their major off on fire, and really put some teams on notice, because a lot of teams, they might be sleeping on them right now, and that's something they can use to their advantage.
Well, let's take a look at the maps real quick. I wanted to create a dialogue here. I know the analyst obviously covered the maps a little bit before, but for me, I love, first and foremost, shout out to the graphics team and just our production team in general. I love the fact that they showed the bans beforehand, and then we went through map after map one at a time. One of the bans Wichita Wolves ended up implementing was checkout execution. I like that. They said they did their homework. When we think about Toti, one of the most dominant maps when it comes to execution, Jacob, is that checkout map. In fact, that was the #1 play in the top 5 plays that we ended up or at least #2, I think it was, that we ended up casting. But regardless, though, he dominated that map. The fact that Wichita Wolves banned that map doesn't indicate they're not good on checkout, but indicates that they respect where Hive is at on that map, and they said, we don't want to play them there. But therefore, we have now 5 maps laid before us. Ritual, a great map for Wichita Wolves. Ritual, a map that Hive hasn't been successful on. They're not a good control team. They're just simply not. Ephyra Execution, a map that Hive was forced to pick, but a map that they haven't played on yet in Pro League. Vasgar, the best pick they have.
A lot of these maps just scream aggression, and I kind of agree with you 130,000%. That checkout ban is huge coming up from the Wichita Wolves, because you've heard me say it so many times. When you have such a little bit of a skill gap, not necessarily a skill gap in terms of mechanics, but in terms of strategy, in terms of brains, you want to take away checkout, because it's kind of a one-directional battlefield. You throw your smokes, you throw your flashes towards that plat in mid lane, and then you try to pick up that early elimination, or you go out wide depending on what goes down. You throw away that all the strategy by picking that map. So you throw away the map entirely. You're forcing Hive to really think. You're forcing them to try to make a play. And with the two control maps that are kind of in the cycle, I say the two control maps, but I'm just thinking maps number 1 and maps number 3. It's Vasgar, Escalation. They're all aggressive maps. This is an early chance for Wichita Wolves to possibly take a 2-1 start, to take momentum, and really put doubt into the minds of Hive.
Possible fact, every time Jacob wins a prediction, he will add another chain to his neck. Jacob, I'm going to say Craig the Brute. Yeah, and you have to be. That is a challenge, Craig the Brute, through out there. And by the way, chat, I love having you out there here on the Xbox channel. Thank you so much for being here. Even Wichita Wolves showed up to show some love with Tryhard & Co. Hey, let's get loud in the chat because this is our first matchup of the day to start off the Gears 5 Winter Major presented by the Batman. On board with PushyZ. Love this guy. You said Wichita Wolves, Jacob, were a step above the other challenger teams, and I agree with that because they have been in Pro League before. They have played in majors before. They've been there, they've done that, and they're looking to do it again.
It's going to start right here on these early portions of the match, and honestly, I like the way both teams are contesting it early, but BODIEZ is going to be the first player down and out, and that's going to be in from the middle. That opens up the flank from Gary, forcing the players of Wichita Wolves forward into shotguns, and what a perfect trap being put out by this Hive roster, making sure to win the middle of that fight, using that middle fight to go and extend the rest of the map. Off to a hot start, and that's something I didn't even expect coming into this one.
I mean, yeah, Hive, this is a big map for them to take. We know their struggles when it comes to control, but the fact that they do start off, they get Addvers, that torque bow, obviously with 4 more remaining. The first one sent flying doesn't connect on anybody, but this is a big move, but I don't like that nade. Already off the start, we see Wichita Wolves going for their second retake, and unfortunately, a team kill with the nades do come through, but still a chance, though. It's going to be a 3v3 frontal push from the Wichita Wolves. Addvers doing everything in his power, but nice shots being laid down. Also getting the pickup. But Wichita Wolves, they've got the pickup too, but Hive tightens the vice grip and wins the second distinct team fight that puts them up 40 points.
And now Rocky's just going to have to literally just sit like a rock right here and wait for an opportunity to prevent himself, possibly a sneak elimination, but it almost looks like somebody even possibly lagged out. Rocky giving up his position there, but you know, regardless here nor there, that is a hot start by Hive. We talked about it. It started with the middle of the map. They got those frag grenades rather quickly, and they got that exchange, but instead of using the frags, Gary continued on with that flank. He played the Lancer play, and that's one thing I love to start this one off, because during the Pro League, I wouldn't have expected that one to happen. I would have expected Gary to go for a full-on flank, try to get some shoddy kills, and open up for a little bit of a 50-50 opportunity for PushyZ or anybody from Wichita Wolves to survive, but he played it slow, he played it steady, and he played towards the team game, and that to me shows Hive, they've already forgotten about the Pro League woes and are ready for the successful weekend they're planning to have.
Well, this is the time to do it, and they've got the best leader possible, Toti, who, again, you know, 3 majors in a row, ended up placing top 3, you know, obviously top 2, and then 3rd place in the last major, the fall major, and this guy, he knows how to guide his troops. He's been here under the spotlights, and his value is going to be incredible for the roster to keep them calm and keep their head in the game when it comes to this major. At the end of the day, this is the gauntlet. It's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where you got to compete. Jacob, you know that better than anybody being a coach on rosters. It takes a good leader to keep everybody motivated and keep their heads in the game, because stamina, it's a real thing.
Yeah, I've always tried to tell people, players I've coached in ranked matches, different thing, when you're going the distance like this, multiple day style event, you need to realize you're going to win a ton of fights throughout the course of the game that you probably shouldn't win. The other team might be sleeping. They make a mistake that you capitalize on, and that's really good. But on the flip side, you're going to lose a ton of fights. Nothing in the world is perfect, and that goes the same with the game of Gears of War. When it comes to competitive, your teammate might be a little late. There might be a little bit late of a call out. You go left instead of right. We talked about a lot of these intricacies, and the main factor about both of those is having that mental stamina, that mental power to be able to outlast the mistakes, to be able to kind of rise yourself up from any bad things that happen and continue to put your best foot forward, because we've seen so many teams have a great Friday, have a fantastic Saturday, and even have a great morning on Sunday, and then they just run out of gas. Yeah, and if Rebel is one of those rosters, I'm looking to have a better weekend. Pittsburgh Knights are one of those rosters I'm looking to have a better weekend. And Hive, throughout the Pro League, they have their struggles, and the Wichita Wolves coming from the Challengers, I'm expecting them to have some great weekends as well.
I love that you brought up Rebel. I think Rebel's going to have a successful weekend. Very impressed with Identivs. A great guy. He really is. You know, I don't get to talk to many pros, but I was truly impressed with Identivs and just how he carried himself and how humble he really is. I gotta say, man, a lot of these guys, it's one thing to cast over them and be critical and things, and it's another to talk to them and really get to know them. You're like, wow, it's just great people. And same thing for Rocky and Toti and just whoever else I got a chance to talk to. But this is a big matchup, it really is. And for Hive, this is one that's. Are they expected to win it? I don't know. I'm not for certain because they've had their ups and downs. They have had a lackluster, 2-week finishing. I looked at the maps and I was kind of going through it. Obviously we start off from Ritual. They played it once. They played it once against Team Queso. They had a good performance. It was 244 to 300. They ended up taking the L, so there's 0-1. I saw Reactor there, which is going to be, map number 4. Played it 3 times and they've lost it all 3 times. That map wasn't that close. Anytime that they played it, they were in the 100 points. They didn't even make it to 200 in any of the series that they ended up competing in. You got Ephyra played it 0 times. That's map number 2. A lot of questions about them. Then you have Clocktower, which would be map number 5. They played it 2 times, and they are 1-1, but their only victory was against Discipline. And then I think they ended up playing another roster, and they lost 1-6. So are they going to find success there? I'm not so certain. And then, of course, you have map number 3, Vasgar, which I believe is going to be the best map for Hive in this series. They're 1-1. The only win is against Discipline. I hate to say it, that's not saying much. Or excuse me, Cyclone, right? Now it's Cyclone. And again, it's... I've got a lot of questions about him, but if there's any team that's going to show up, it's going to be Hive because of Toti and because of his teammates. But they got to prove themselves. Wichita Wolves, that we don't know what they're going to bring to the table, and they lost the first 2 or 3 team fights that we just saw starting off on Ritual.
Yeah, and to kind of take note, this is map number 1. It's been a thing for a lot of teams this split to have a little bit of a slow start to map number 1. They kind of pick it up towards the tail end. They pick it up in map number 2. And for Hive, you got to realize scrims are one thing. Being able to play in the Pro League week after week, being able to play in E-Days every single week, that's something that kind of is uncounted for in a lot of these matchups. That's practice that is more valuable than scrims will ever get you. That's tournament style practice, even though, I'm using the word practice, but it's a real style matchup. But in your head, that's always just a little bit of a learning lesson. And I think that's something to start off this game that we've seen Hive utilize a ton. They're not just bull rushing. They're not just going balls to the wall to try to get the eliminations like you're seeing the Wichita Wolves do. And that's one thing that you kind of noted on is the Wichita Wolves playing the challenger teams. It's easy to have a sloppy style of play. So for them, they're going to be looking to clean it up.
Are we looking to clean it up indeed? And well, chat, we did have some issues, but that's all right. We're going to figure them out and get into the matchup as soon as we can. Until then, we're going to take a little break. Please don't go anywhere. Keep the chat active. I'm going to actually hop in there and start talking to you guys a little bit too. Maybe Jacob will as well. Speaking of which, Jacob, I still got the 2 chains. I couldn't see the other one, Jacob. I couldn't see the bring it out.
There you go. I have 3 championships. I might end up with a 3rd chain by the time we come back. I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time.
You better stop, man, because I'm going to beat you down, and Twitch chat already beat you, all right? So you can't be all high and mighty, right? Matter of fact, you need to be sending your chain to Twitch chat.
Bro. Glorious weekend. It's the major. There's nothing to be frowning about.
All right. For me too. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm not going to lose any of them too. We have the best seat in the house. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, hopefully the matchup will continue. And welcome back, everybody, to the Gears 5 Winter Major, presented by the Batman. I'm Taylor Reflection Noble, joined by Jacob MVPR, and check it out, we're heading into the match once again. We did have that bit of a restart, and it is going to be Hive, who is going to be up 44 points. So they need to reach 256 points in order to win. Wichita Wolves will still need to hit 300 because they didn't get a point off the rip. And that is a tough start, it is, but a restart might give Wichita Wolves some new life.
Yeah, this is something that for the Wichita Wolves, like you said, new life. They have a second chance at that initial fight. And if you get in control of that initial fight, you get the power weapons. You're able to get the information about which side they're going to spawn on. So everything is going to be successful. But on the flip hand, darker days can come for the Wichita Wolves if they lose the fight in a very, very similar fashion. Like I said, the key to that initial fight in the last go-around was middle. It was Gary winning a big 1v1 and then immediately going for a Lancer play instead of trying to go for a shotgun.
This is going to be a big map for Wichita Wolves. I talked about the struggles Hive have had here, but this is, in my opinion, the best control map that Hive has competed on, just based on that 244-300 loss to Team Queso. Now, mind you, I'm still saying a loss. I think they're 1-7 or 1-8 when it comes to Pro League of Control. But if Wichita Wolves can't beat Hive here on Control, well, I don't know if they're going to be able to beat any other roster on Control, in my honest opinion. But we will find out. And again, a great start for Hive, Jacob, literally flawless.
Yeah, Yeah, once again, you can kind of see it. They're playing that wide. They're playing the long game on the side of Hive, making sure to use their teamwork to make that dream work come true. And for a team that's been struggling almost all split long, this is the perfect opening. This is the perfect start to the major that you do want to have. As you see, 35 seconds left for grabs. And that's going to go to Hive, who are beginning to continue to put this pressure on. It looks like Rocky's under siege. Splash damage and pistol shots going out. We go to the other side of the fight where it does look like the shots will continue. It's slowly but surely the Wichita Wolves trying to sandwich the players of Hive and try to figure out a way to get an elimination. But Addvers connects with the torque bow to keep Hive at least one step ahead.
Tough break for Wichita Wolves. It really is. But PushyZ, though, able to take down Kardia. We do see 19 seconds being fought for, but you also got to focus on next. And PushyZ tries to close the gap on Toti. Toti's like, I've seen this a million times, brother. You're not just going to walk up and chunk me. That's not how the Winter Major is going to work, brother. It's not going to be that easy. And now we see Hive inching their way closer and closer to 256. They're nearly just 200 points away from victory, while Wichita Wolves still need 299.
Yeah, it's about a 90-point lead, give or take. My math could be wrong, but just in case you guys are tuning in for the first time, we had a little bit of a reset, a little bit of problem in our first go-around, and that's why we have that updated score. Hive needs 256 points to take this map number 1, and the Wichita Wolves need the full 300-point count on their side. Back-to-back starts put them in this position. No one to blame but themselves, as Rocky's trying to go ahead and stretch that defense thin by taking on 2 members of Hive. But the other side of the map, they have to go. They're able to break through the hill, but Hive, they're backtracking. They're trying to Lancer these players down, and this is working out almost perfect here, as Gary with yet another flank to solidify 1 elimination. Backtracking with the pistol to continue the damage because he knows Toti is there. Hive, I don't know what they've eaten today, but they woken up looking like a complete team.
Oh, I'm so happy to see this too. We talked about Hive's ups and downs, and we also talked about Wichita Wolves coming from challengers, but not taking a single loss in all 5 weeks of challengers. They ended up winning every single week. An incredible performance, but we've also said that challengers and Pro League and the major are very, very distinct different things. Right now, Wichita Wolves are struggling to adjust. Only 8 points they've been able to gather. Meanwhile, Hive getting so close to the 256. Addvers once again with that torque bow. Before the reset, we saw him have it, not find much success, but this time around, will at least connect onto Zoom. And he's going to go ahead and push up with the Nasher, feeling confident. Rocky, though, gets the drop on one. Addvers will be finished off. It's a scrappy fight for sure, but who's going to end up ahead? You got to be favoring Wichita Wolves now in the 2v1. Toti by himself, and it's getting a bit squirrely for him, and he will drop. Wichita Wolves will win that engagement, but who's going to win the next hill? That's my question, because both teams are still fighting for positioning all over the map.
Yeah, it's 130 and counting. Give or take a couple points, that's not going to be our exact score, but it is 10-8 as Hive continues to go on the run. A quick flurry of eliminations falling in way of the Wichita Wolves. That's going to give them the spawn point towards the top, but it's up to BODIEZ. It's up to Zoom to try to hold on to this position as long as possible. PushyZ now getting in position along with Rocky. I do think Wichita Wolves have this setup. I wouldn't say it's the one they desire, but it's the one that they're going to sit in for now. Wait for Hive to make a move. So it's very, very crucial, Reflections, that they gather the information, figure out where the push is going to come from, and it already looks like Hive, they want to attack the spawn point first.
Got to attack the spawn point, get Wichita Wolves out of there, and then ultimately push up and take control of the hill so you can definitively have control of the last 35 seconds. First time we've seen life from Wichita Wolves, Jacob, and they managed to gather 42 points. Make that 43. They continue to gather, and Hive, they cannot afford to slow down. Wichita Wolves is a roster that is, they really have nothing to lose and everything to gain from this major. We didn't have a lot of eyes on them throughout the Challenger Series. Despite their success, this is the first time they are truly showcasing their abilities to the masses. So this is their time to shine. So Wichita Wolves, they're going to be playing with a little bit of extra oomph this weekend, in my honest opinion. I'm impressed. Wichita Wolves have managed to gain 59 points off of that last hill, which means Hive needs to be on high alert. We might be seeing a second win from Wichita Wolves.
Yeah, talk about those slow starts a lot of the teams in the Pro League have been having. I wouldn't say it would be strange for our challenger teams to kind of follow suit. See, once again, the majority of the setup going in the way of Wichita Wolves, but that's not a full setup at all, because Hive, 3 players are just waiting for that opportunity to strike, waiting for some splash damage from Toti to go through. Zoom doing what he can with a frag grenade to try to return fire. PushyZ gets taken out by Toti, so the numbers, they're falling in way of Hive yet again after such a great hill hold by the Wichita Wolves. Everything comes crumbling down in an instant with a couple of eliminations. Rocky gets angled out as one of the last members members left, and PushyZ, he's just gonna have to think about his decisions here. Him and his team got to think about what the correct play is, because this hill, it's now in control of Hive.
Now in control of Hive as they inch their way closer and closer to 256 to score they needed after the reset, where they had a 44-point lead heading in to the resets. And of course that was fair. That's what they gained at the rip. Nice shots from Toti to drop PushyZ. One of the stats we looked at off the rip for the analyst desk was give Toti a Lancer. Toti ranked 4th in Pro League in damage per 10 minutes. And that is going to shine here in this series. And it already has shined, whereas Toti has just really been carrying his weight, as you expect. Gary comes in, picks up 2. He will drop off. Wichita Wolves still a chance to lock in, but it comes down to this 2v2. Good cleanup on both, and Wichita Wolves will continue to garner some points. Only 25 seconds remaining, so they'll leave a player behind and focus on next.
This is their opportunity here to try to sandwich these players in a 3v2, but they have to go quick, because you see in your minimap, it's Kardia trying to rotate on over and get the flank onto 2 members of Wichita Wolves, and they get it just in time. Kardia was able to get it down onto 1. The Wichita Wolves, however, are able to pick up at least 1 elimination to try to tie this one up, but they're forced to backtrack. A team kill, a down and out from Kardia. Everything continues to go south for the Wichita Wolves, who have been struggling to start off this game. And Hive, they're one of our Pro League teams that we keep talking about, and they're taking full advantage. That Pro League practice, even though they're not victorious in every one of those matches, you can see how much of a difference maker it's happening in this match as Gary connects with yet another torque bow. Anything splash damage here is going to be successful, because it gives out the information of the players rotating as well. A down coming through, torque bow connecting Hive and just surrounding and suffocating the players of the Wolves.
Suffocating the players of the Wolves, and that's a great point, Jacob. That's what Hive needs to do. That pressure obviously gained not only through competing throughout Pro League, but obviously through Toti, really guiding his troops. Gary has been so influential in the success of Hive, or at least the successes that they've had. Even though they might be few, make no mistake about it, Hive's still a roster you got to take seriously, especially major time. The Wichita Wolves are absolutely filling that bit of brute force attack up front. But either way, though, we do see Rocky picking up Kardia and Gary. Gary's going to be finished off. Still more that they have to finish off, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to do so. Addvers standing 10 toes down, holding his ground, not only against Rocky, but also against PushyZ. And Hive continues to get more and more points, where Wichita Wolves, they're trickling in some points, but they're not getting the floodgates open, and that's what they really need to start doing.
Yeah, because of that reset, Hive have already reached over 210 points in this matchup against the Wolves, so they're only 80. So the points you see for the Wolves are going to be accurate. They are going to be correct, but when it comes to Hive, you need to add about 44 points. So that's about 216 and counting. So this is going to be an uphill battle for the Wolves, especially since the position is going to go to Hive. And the way they take their numbers in an instant as Gary takes out PushyZ all by himself, it's just absolutely phenomenal. BODIEZ with those frag grenades. Yeah, he can use them. He can get elimination onto Addvers, but it's about effectively being able to use these with the rest of your squad. He goes down, gets the elimination onto Addvers, though. Rest of the team is there. This is the Wichita Wolves moment here to get back into this game. If they don't go ahead and find some success here, it could be all over.
Man, absolutely. Yeah, Hive is knocking on the door of victory. And even after this team fight, you look at the kill feed, you saw Toti's perspective, 17 assists, Jacob, and 14,000 damage. Again, the analyst pointed out, you give Toti a Lancer, he's going to find success. And, well, clearly he's got that Lancer in hands, and he continues to rack up that damage points, about to hit 15,000. Hive looking unstoppable. Wichita Wolves not even existing in Addvers another time with the torque bow. Every single time we get on his perspective, he's got a torque bow in hand.
Oh, that looked like it shouldn't have even hit him over the cover. It looked like he was the hunchback of Notre Dame, and that's exactly what he stuck with the torque bow. The little hunchback on the back as he's trying to get in the cover. And Addvers knows. I love the way every person on Hive, if you look at your minimap, they know the situation. This one is going to go right back to the start, so they want to get that position all the way towards the side. And 15 seconds left. Even though Toti did get taken out, they knows exactly where all 4 members of the Wichita Wolves are going to come from.
Well, 25 points needed for Hive in order to take the victory. That's not a lot that Wichita Wolves has. They don't have a lot of wiggle room, right? They really don't. They've got to be flawless from this point forward and fight for every inch of the map, including the power weapons. It's almost an impossible situation, but something that they must endure if they want to try and be successful here. But already we see one by one Wichita Wolves starting to fall off the map. BODIEZ the last one, but he's making good use of his life, but it's not going to be enough. And Hive, they have definitive control of the current hill. Now they're going to be 16 points away from victory, and Wichita Wolves are on their last leg.
I hope they remember. I can tell you that much. I hope somebody's calling out that's 256. 9 points is all Hive need to close this one out. Rocky goes in. Rocky goes out. Body match is all the same. Only a few seconds left. They have to touch the hill. BODIEZ is going to get taken down. So is Zoom and PushyZ. And that is going to be the game. Hive, after a restart, continue with the same pressure and the same momentum to take map number 1.
That's a huge victory, Jacob. Hive leading map 1. We know Control has been where, they've struggled. They definitely have, and clearly now they do, in fact, take the victory and to lead over the Wichita Wolves. Showcases, despite the success Wichita Wolves had and the homework they've done, well, they're not going to get Ritual off of Hive. And I've said it. That is not a map that, Hive has been successful on in Pro League. Control is the worst game type, or at least traditionally has been. It's major time. It could be totally different. That narrative could be absolutely thrown out the window. But if Wichita Wolves are struggling to win Control here against Hive, how much success are they going to find during the major? But Jacob, you said it best, right? Before we even started map 1, this is only map 1. There still can be some life from Wichita Wolves, and I'm sure there will be, especially heading into our next map, Ephyra Execution.
Yeah, and hopefully they look at it as a glass half full, because it's very, very easy to kind of look at that map, get down on yourself, start to have negative thoughts, and those begin to fester and foster into more. But they need to have that glass half full. They need to realize that's just map number 1. They have a little bit of a slow start. Maybe they slept on Hive because they weren't one of the best teams. Maybe Rocky and the rest of Wichita Wolves maybe have scrimmed against these guys and have the confidence. So maybe it's just a little overstepping against their opponents. And that's exactly what happens, especially when you're going against somebody like Toti, who's able to lead the team and lead the charge, because I feel like at this point he's seen everything. So when it comes to the Wichita Wolves, they have to know that even though that was a horrible map for them, on a horrible map for Hive as well, that they can still bounce back, because at the end of the day, you still need to win 3 maps to kind of close it out. We got Ephyra, which could turn into aggression, which would suit the Wolves. We have Vasgar, once again, which could turn into aggression, could suit the Wolves. So before you know it, as long as they don't let this one get them down too much, they could be up 2-0 or 2-1.
Could be. And also as well, this front end of the map, well, I'm going to be completely blunt. I think Wichita Wolves need to win Ephyra, like bottom line period, because when it comes to Vasgar map number 3, Escalation has traditionally been where Hive makes their money. Execution has been great, but I mean, Vasgar is a dangerous map for Wichita Wolves in regards to Hive success there, even taking it to a round 9 against Rise. This speaks volumes. We know how good, Jacob, Rise is on Vasgar. So I don't see Wichita Wolves finding much success there. They might. Still a lot of unknowns for them, but as far as I'm concerned, this map number 2 is an absolute must-win for Wichita Wolves if they do not want to get beat 3-0. But if they can make it through Ephyra, win that, and then go to Reactor Control, that's a map that Hive isn't successful on and have taken some losses. You mentioned the aggression benefiting Wichita Wolves, Jacob. That's a great point. I think Wichita Wolves have a chance, but it comes down to them winning map number 2.
Yeah, and they have to kind of look back at their IGL, back at a lot of their strategy, and sit forward to the strategy, because there's going to come moments in time where it looks like there's a free kill. Everybody that's played Gears of War knows something that looks like a free kill isn't always the case. There's somebody hiding around a corner. There's a trap being set up. There's almost a reason and a case for a lot of these players being in the position that they are. So you can't not think anything is going to come easy to you in this matchup. And for the Wichita Wolves, they know that last one was a doozy. They got mollywopped. They need to be able to pick themselves up, dust themselves up, and come out hot on this next one. And the thing that I think can kind of suit them a little bit more in this one isn't necessarily the aggression of the style of map, but it's the round by round game type that is execution. So if things go wrong, back-to-back rounds, they have that cushion, the couple seconds to be able to switch things up and figure out what went wrong and figure out how to make it right.
My biggest concern for Wichita Wolves is this is one of the few losses they've taken in the past 5 weeks. Really all of split 2. Let's just call it split 2. They've only lost like 2 maps or 3 maps, like in the entirety. And I say maps. They didn't lose a series, but they lost maps. And like I said, only 2 or 3. So this would be the 3rd or 4th loss that they've taken on a map. And it's pretty discouraging for that to be literally map 1 of your major performance against Hive in your group. So for Wichita Wolves, mental barrier, I don't know. Jacob, what do you think that, or at least do you think that's going to have an effect or a narrative at all going into map number 2 for Wichita Wolves?
I think it's going to have a little bit, especially in the early portions of this execution. That's why I kind of pointed out round by round is going to help them. It's going to be able to alleviate some of that pressure if things are going wrong. But for the Wichita Wolves, the opportunity is not going to present itself on the side of Hive. You need to come out of the gate swinging on this next map. You guys practiced it. You guys scrimmed it. You guys need to run strategy after strategy and keep the players of Hive on their toes. And what I mean by that is maybe you kind of go ahead and suit that drop shot. Send two players outside for the drop shot, 2 players inside. You take control of the middle room. You try to funnel those players out of that backside of drop shot. Or heck, maybe you can do exactly what United tries to do. Get that torque bow in the hands of Powers. So you go ahead and extend a couple players down there, especially if it is uncontested. Either way, the point that I'm trying to make is for the Wichita Wolves, you have to do exactly what you want to do. You cannot play reactionary. You have to be one of the first teams in this match to make the first move.
Absolutely. And Ephyra is one of those maps where if you are reactionary, you could in fact fall behind. I think the aggressor on Ephyra typically wins, as long as you're hitting your shots, of course. But you've got, 3 distinct battles. You've got the drop shot battle that's going to be taking place. That normally, obviously, intel shocks, so it makes a little bit of a testier fight. Then you also have the hotel fight, which is going down. Traditionally, it started off as a 1v1. Now we see it being more so a 2v2 in the hotel fight, because you got that player on the outer edge who likes to, lancer through the window if he's not going to be assisting the drop shot player. And then you go all the way down and you mentioned Powers with the torque bow. That's normally a 1v1 unless the hotel fight is finished off quickly, which could quickly turn into a 2v1 if you're not careful. So aggression tends to really pay off on Ephyra more so, I think, than a lot of other maps. Maybe Checkout I would throw out there when it comes to aggression. Obviously the aggressor tends to win the ensigns and the snipe, but for Wichita Wolves, this is the time to really flex their muscles and push themselves. Speaking of which, who do we expect to be that guy that's going to flex his muscles? For me, I'm personally looking at Rocky.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rocky, possibly Zoom, because Zoom is a very, very incredibly skilled young player. And honestly, I don't think that first go around the Pro League was enough for him. It was enough for a lot of these Wichita Wolves guys. And that's what I'm saying. They have a lot of pressure on them. They're in a very winnable pool for themselves. And winnable, I mean, second place is a win in my own mind, kind of talking about that, because that first place team I do think is going to be that team to beat. But this is definitely an opportunity to kind of cement themselves as one of the teams in their pool.
Yeah, in my opinion, I mean, just avoiding, elimination, obviously, not being that 4th place team in the group of 4. In this case, right, you have Wichita Wolves, Hive, Pittsburgh Knights, and Hayabusa all competing in Group A. As long as you don't finish last, in my opinion, that's a W. Making it to Saturday, and then the job will continue on. So whenever it comes down to Wichita Wolves or Hive, winning this first series gives you a distinct mental advantage, but a real advantage to avoid elimination. Addvers is going to be cutting through Hotel to try and isolate BODIEZ, but man, BODIEZ is looking to pop off in the moment, but gets 2 downs, but doesn't get the finishes. I feel like that was a big missed opportunity for Zoom, who should have collapsed in, who could have got a 2-piece.
Zoom gets taken out, getting crossed in the back. Rocky gets a down, almost gets the trade. Pushy's gonna be able to clean that one up, but his hands are still full. Addvers gets the drop shot. He's trying to get some pressure, trying to get some position as well, but he does not have an opportunity at that torque bow. In fact, he doesn't have an opportunity at all. Cross from Kardia towards the backside Hive. They take round number 1. And I love the way they did it too, Reflections, because Rocky had an uncontested torque bow towards the bottom. He did not go for it. Instead, he did the right play in my mind. He went towards the flank in the middle, tried to disrupt and get that early first blood, but everybody on Hive were on the same page. They got out towards the house. They got that first elimination towards outside, and they neutralized any presence in towards the middle, because you got to realize this isn't a hill game type. There's no weapon there, so there's no reason to overstay if you don't have to.
Zoom, again, had an opportunity. Maybe he was getting pressured up. Maybe he didn't feel like he could move in, but I felt like that was a huge missed opportunity with BODIEZ getting 2 distinct downs simultaneously. Zoom, if he just would have committed a little bit, maybe it was risky play, but I firmly feel even if BODIEZ is finished off there, he could have picked up 2 players, and that would have gave a great advantage to Wichita Wolves. And I think that in action, that's ability to be able to react just didn't work out, but a great start here for Wichita Wolves. They get 2 off the rip. They take down Toti and Addvers, and there's a third Kardia. This could be a flawless round if they could just take down Gary without losing some life, but either way, Gary falls. A flawless round in 31 seconds. Wichita Wolves, great recovery to tie things up 1-1.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to have. You want to have an answer back if you're the Wichita Wolves, because after you lose that first one, first map, I should say, and it was pretty handily. That was a mollywhopping, if I ever say so myself. They kind of went down and under and continued to skyrocket underneath that ground. But on this one, they're definitely firing back. Even off that first round, like you said, BODIEZ, 2 great downs. If he just had a little bit of backup, a little adjustment, that could have been a 2-0 start for the Wolves, but it is going to be 1-1. Addvers trying to pressure that fight down low, possibly here in the call out, and you see it being reflected in Rocky's play.
Gary picks up the torque bow, still 4v4. See what Gary can do from the bottom side of things. We do see Hive breaking out. They want to get that spacing from Wichita Wolves, and in true Ephyra fashion, we're going to see the other team get the drop shot. So now it comes down to Gary with the power weapon of torque bow, BODIEZ with that drop shot, and 2 in play. And he's going to get pressured quite a bit. So a connection here is going to be very important. He's going to send one flying. That's going to help Zoom. Kardia will die off, and now it's a 4v3.
Yeah, I love the immediate uses of the drop shot to try to take control of the game and give yourself an advantage. But I gotta say, if I love the immediate use of the drop shot, I have to love the immediate use of the torque bow. In fact, for Gary to be able to kind of catch PushyZ out of position, if you look at your mini-map, kind of look at the skull where PushyZ did get taken out, he was so far out of position. Somebody better have gotten him a map to find the rest of his team. But unfortunately, he does go down. So 3v3 is going to ensue. And the player I'm going to be looking at here on screen is, or in your mini-map, is BODIEZ number 2, and then number 7 for Gary's, depending on who you want to watch or who you're rooting for to win.
Because number 2 can really break out, maybe flank across to Addvers. Surely, though, Gary's going to call that out. I think Gary's going to have a big impact with this torque bow. Player 2 is about to get sandwiched in, and that's going to be up to Rocky to kind of alleviate some of that pressure. Either way, player 6 is going to be on the flank. Toti looking to make a move here. BODIEZ going to be rotating in. Player to the right. BODIEZ will take down Toti. He sends a drop shot flying. Addvers might be able to get away. He's still red. He does get away, actually. The Lancer's shots don't cover up, but hey, we got the overtime healer drop shot, and then you got Addvers who's on the other side with the torque bow. 8 seconds, though, to recover, and he should make it.
Yeah, they can't not just pick up another new drop shot. That's Gary holding onto that angle. He's pushing forward. He's going to switch to a shock, and as soon as he lets this one off, but he can't take too much damage himself. No splash damage being rewarded, but Addvers with the cross, able to take out one, but that was a 3v2. Now it's a 2v1. He gets another one. Back-to-back elims for Addvers. He's trying to stay alive. Overtime going up, and Addvers completes the hat trick. We have just started the day, and Addvers is fathering his sons.
Addvers is fathering his sons. Quote that, put it on a t-shirt. Jacob just made it true. Hey, I gotta agree with you, brother. The way that he played that was so well. Zoom trying to line up that shot, but Addvers not taking the bait. Takes down BODIEZ, and here's Zoom. We get on his perspective, and he just tries to bot walk around. Hits a nice shot on Addvers, but Addvers knows, look, that shot has to count, and because Zoom, he didn't get a chunk, and he didn't get the drop, well, he had time to close the gap and get the finish, and that's exactly what he did.
The Addvers taking control of the middle yet again. Free torque bow towards the low portion of the map. Say free, that's because Rocky was outmatched. 3v1 to go ahead and grab it. It'd possibly be a free drop shot, but nobody's taking advantage, and that's got to be thanks to a shock grenade. Finally, Zoom gets it in his hands, but after his team already lost first blood, and that's going to be BODIEZ going to the wayside. But I will say, when it comes to it being a 3v4, drop shot kind of counts as another member. But Zoom, he has that pressure to execute to perfection.
He does. We've already seen him do it before. Taking down Addvers would be a big takeaway, and he's going to do exactly that. The guy who clutched up the round now can't clutch up, obviously, round number 4. Still a 3v3. Anybody's ball game at this point. As Gary rotate around, PushyZ just on the other side, but shouldn't show himself, so Gary might not have an opportunity to send a torque bow flying. Very slow rounds. Very slow rounds. We're not seeing as many pop-off 1v1s as we normally do on Ephyra, as both teams are playing this super cautiously, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, even with the drop shot, some people might be looking at this saying, hey, Zoom, you know, just go get an elimination. Just go find somebody. Hit him with the drop shot, but you got to realize that drop shot, depending on how it's used, depending on how it's played, if you don't know where anybody's at, I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing in the world to dodge, but it's definitely dodgeable. So what they're waiting for right now in this situation, they're waiting for overtime hill. They're waiting for Hive to possibly flood in towards that hill, and that's when they're going to wait, and that perfect usage of the drop shot will come in probably 10 seconds, because that drop shot was picked up late in the first place. We're not going to see another one in play, and that's why you see Kardia finally rotating in through the middle of the map instead of waiting for the next drop shot.
Stuff starting to pop off. Gary now sends one flying, but it's not going to connect. Still an opportunity to take down PushyZ, and he actually can get onto the backside of Rocky, who gets the cap right in front of him. and not pushing up quick enough, Jacob. In a round, in my opinion, Wichita Wolves will sneak through to tie things up 2-2. All that work, and Hive having a 3-man advantage, or excuse me, another additional man advantage, still doesn't get the win because Rocky wins the 1v1 against Toti and gets the cap. Incredible job from Rocky.
Yeah, those little brain farts. Those little things that kind of slip through your mind in a moment, and it kind of really cost you in the end, but you kind of look down low. Free torque bow for Gary yet again. The Wichita Wolves got to take advantage. They got to go for that drop shot. PushyZ gets it in his hand. One down coming through, but he's going to be able to escape. So, honestly, the dust will settle just a little bit. Power weapons will be grabbed by the respective players and teams. So, it's going to be down to strategy, but no, Addvers finds BODIEZ slipping. He didn't get the memo to get out. He gets taken down, but no, BODIEZ gets taken out by both PushyZ. So, that's going to be a double kill. Unfortunately, one was his team, but make it a real double kill as he connects with one onto Gary as well. Torque bow out of play. Back A. PushyZ gets a hat trick of his own, but can he get the perfect ace? Kardia right in front of him, dead to rights. Players making sure that they stay close together. Don't want to give him a 1v1, but PushyZ goes down to Kardia. Can we have clutches back-to-back by 2 different players of Hive?
Might be able to. Rocky looking to clutch up once again. Kardia, though, throws out the shock. That's going to force Rocky to reposition. So is Kardia, though. Rocky continues to push up. Nice shot, back roll. Kardia, full red. So is Rocky, and both will have a chance to reset, catch a breath.
God.
For the time being, an intense 1v1, Jacob, where both guys have already sent a ton of pellets flying, and yet a lot of blood is on the ground, but nobody has died just yet. A tense moment, 25 seconds. We'll see the overtime hill pop up into play. Kardia kind of bait out Rocky. Rocky tried to do the same. This is it's one of those moments, Jacob, that is just who wants to make that first move? And honestly, neither of them really in a good spot to make a move. It's just going to come down to a pop-off rotation in 10 seconds.
I want to see Rocky kind of fake it because he has the right hand advantage, and then go for it afterwards. That's what I want to see. It's only because he's on the right hand I'm going for Rocky and this one. But Kardia, on the left hand, he can do something very, very similar, but it's just going to be a little bit harder because it is the left hand. I say a little bit because these guys are some of the top players in the game, but that shot, give Kardia the go-ahead. 20 seconds left. He's not gonna attempt it. And I get it though, because you still have to stagger that jump over the cover if you're trying to get on that side, and that opens up 2, possibly even 3 shots for Rocky to go and fire off onto Kardia almost uncontested. So I would not be surprised if this one ends in a stalemate. I wouldn't be surprised though.
Oh, it might not. No, it's not going to. Kardia makes the move. Rocky push him out, but no one gets to cap. It is going to be a stalemate, but you got to respect Kardia for at least attempting there, Jacob.
Yeah, and honestly, Rocky, that was his. He missed that second shot. I told you he would have had 2 to 3 uncontested shots over the top of that cover because of the timing it's going to take Kardia hop over. He missed that second shot, and that was crucial because that is a Wichita Wolves possible victory, and that's the way they can separate themselves from this Hive roster, but instead, we're tied up 2-2 still.
Yeah, not too much damage done. Like you said, tied up 2-2, so a bit of a reset. Again, these teams have been playing very slow, very cautious and methodical, which you don't normally see, but a bit of a mistake from BODIEZ, but wasn't a mistake. PushyZ maybe trying to bait him out, but can't capitalize in the meantime. Hive gets a big advantage, getting first blood and also second. Surely Hive will now lead 3-1. Zoom getting a kill onto Toti, but it's simply not going to be enough. He still need to hit 3 more, and 30 seconds later, Hive will in fact take that 3-2 lead. And that was the quickest round I think we've seen.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the quickest rounds that we've seen so far. You can kind of see why. BODIEZ got caught out of position trying to help those players in the middle, and you can see why you have to be on the same page in this one. This is where I want to see possibly a 2-2 strategy run out, get the eliminations in the middle map, try to go for drop shot simultaneously, but Gary knows he has a free torque bow. He's probably calling it out time and time again to his teammates.
Addvers pushing up, getting early positioning on the pillar. PushyZ though will drop. He should get out, surely, hopefully. I mean, he's going to be on his last down, so he's got to avoid the snub shots from Addvers. Still not a good angle for him to be. BODIEZ going to try to alleviate that pressure, but run straight into a torque bow from Gary. And we see both trades as it's going to be now a 2v3. PushyZ finished off. Gary having a pop-off. Round number 6, Jacob picking up 2, looking for his third of Zoom. So do close the gap. BODIEZ down, but his BODIEZ really down. He's not. Now it's a distinct 2v2. Make that a 1v2 because Gary is literally going for the ace with the torque bow. I think this would be, but it is going to be stolen from Kardia. But Gary, the hero of round number 7, picking up 3 with the torque bow. Well done.
And that's what they have to do. One of two things. They're getting that torque bow for free, right? On the side of Hive, and Gary's put it to use. That's exactly the result. On the side of the Wichita Wolves, they need to run past that drop shot, get that elimination, and then probably backtrack for it if there is still time. Or grab that drop shot and immediately try to fire it off to get these eliminations, because you're just buying Gary time. You're giving it to him on a silver platter to rotate it around, but instead both teams are switching up their strategies. Rocky, he gets an uncontested torque bow, but it looks like it's going to be contested late into the game. Hive, they make a strategy call to try to find somebody off guard, but instead everybody's just going to try to backtrack. The dust will settle. Everybody will get their weapons, but instead of, unfortunately, like the last round, everybody's just going to be positioned a little different.
I don't know if I favor Wichita Wolves here based on their position. They're kind of bunched up, which is going to give Addvers an opportunity to potentially get some great connections. Zoom caught out, and he will die off. BODIEZ sends a terrible drop shot flying, and that's not going to connect onto anybody. And at this point, Hive gains even more of an advantage. That could put them at map point very shortly.
Whoa!
BODIEZ, man, great shot from Addvers.
Money. That looked like a money drop shot, but obviously I was wrong. Rocky's trying to be the hero, and yeah, it's almost impossible at that stage of the game. 3v1, possible 4v1, torque bow in play, take him out, but that drop shot, that's what I'm saying, the importance of these power weapons, and we've seen it throughout the Pro League on District Control and a number of different maps that they're able to get these power weapons in their control, but their execution, their usage of those actual power weapons is what could really cost them the game.
What'd you say, Addvers, Daddy Addvers to everybody? What was
Father
it, Jacob?
Addvers.
Father
fathering
Addvers.
his sons. He's not my father. He's fathering his sons in the game right now.
All right, fair enough. It'll be 9 kills, 8,300 damage, and 3 first bloods. That speaks volumes to me. We've seen him make plays on Torque Bow. We've seen him make plays in Hotel. We've seen him get first blood once again. He's going to rack up to number 4, and instantly on the backside of PushyZ and Zoom, who are pretty much dead to rights at the moment. Easy cleanups. Rocky now by himself. No, Rocky forced to back up. Gets a shot, though. Maybe it was all planned in the end. Rocky, he knew what he was doing with that Torque Bow on the wall, but 1v3. Very tough spot to be. Only 2 more torques remaining. No splash damage. Slowly but surely, Hive starts to close the vice grip now. Hive might win this 6-1. Last torque bow wrapped up. What the heck? Connects on the Toti. Maybe not impossible, but now brought down to his knees. He will be finished off. That's going to be a 6-2 victory. A 2-0 lead for Hive as they are soaring through their first matchup, their first series in the Gears Winter Major presented by the Batman. Incredible job and an incredible performance all around. Hive looking like, hey man, that Pro League performance doesn't matter. Got ups and downs, it doesn't matter. It's all up from here. And that man Addvers, the father of his sons in the game with 10 kills, 9,300 damage done. Incredible work. Hive up 2-0. We need an answer from Wichita Wolves. We'll be heading into Vasgar Escalation, map number 3, coming up after the break. Welcome back, everybody, to the Gears 5 Winter Major presented by the Batman. I'm Taylor Reflections, and we're joined by Jacob Vivi PR. An exciting match, an exciting series for Hive fans all around. There was a lot of hype about Wichita Wolves, but they're down 0-2 in the series, forced to fight for their lives. They struck out when it came to control. They lost Ritual 300-96. They struck out Checkout Ephyra, or excuse me, Checkout Execution Ephyra 6-2. And Hive, man, I'm telling you, the ups and downs have been there for Pro League, but it's all ups from here, Jacob. These boys can't do any wrong.
They can't do anything wrong. And Addvers that game, he looked like the Batman. He looked like Addvers Wade. Yeah. He said, I am vengeance. He screamed it after he got that 1v3, and he unmasked the truth because he said, Hive, you guys don't even deserve. You guys don't even deserve anything from the Wichita Wolves because we're just going to take everything from you. And Addvers, man, like I said, he's fathering his sons, man. At the end of the day, he's getting them Happy Meals, he's getting them toys, he's getting them everything they want but the victory at the end of the day.
You know, you got to get the Happy Meal toy, though. Let's be serious, all right? And also, with you, Jacob, you picked up a 3rd chain. Where did that even come from?
Huh. I got so many chains, it's ridiculous. I'm just waiting.
What, you go to Mardi Gras or something? What are you doing? Like, how'd you get all these chains?
Okay, so this was prediction season 1. This was prediction season 2. This one was prediction season 3. Ozuna gave me this one. You know how I get.
Hey, pull it up. Pull it up. I know there's something there. Hey, look, hey, yo, hey.
Talk about the
incredible
flashes
stuff.
blinded, bro. I can't do that again. The camera cannot handle it. I got to show down the shutter speed. I got to put the cap on, man. Oh, man. Got to get the aviators
So,
out.
Azuna, are we talking about Azuna or are we talking about BODIEZ? Which one are you? Because they go hand in hand in the gear scene.
The Ozuna. The number one Latin American artist.
So BODIEZ.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, make sure, because Ozuna,
BODIEZ is big time now. He made sure to know. He was like, "Yo, PR man, you were one of the first guys. We did it together back in the Hive Station days. I got you a little present. It may not be Christmas, but Christmas in February. Everybody loves Christmas in February."
I still like Craig the Brute's suggestion of just getting like a tire chain, you know, the chains that you put around your tire or whatever, just like literally throwing that on your
We got
neck
a long
next.
weekend reflection. We got a long weekend. Anything is possible.
Okay, go to your local Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't even know where you buy them. And I don't even think they sell them where you live, to be honest with you. Because when does it snow?
Go to the local biker bar, bro. Don't worry about it.
There you go.
I'm gonna
Pick one up. I know about that. Absolutely. Hey, we're hopping into map number 3. And guys, I said it. Map number 2, Ephyra Execution, was a map, in my opinion, Wichita Wolves needed to win. Because I know how good Hive is traditionally here on Vasgar, at least how good they have been throughout Pro League. Granted, the record not spectacular, but and if you're looking at the stats, and I was, from the 5 maps that were picked, going into Vasgar Hive, they are 1, or at least they were 1-1 in Pro League. They beat Discipline 5-4. Not impressive when you think about it, or Cyclones, excuse me. But then they ended up going to a round 9 against Rise. So for Wichita Wolves, this is the map I don't expect them to win. I didn't expect them to win, but I mean, a map they must win.
I feel like at this point they need to just play like they have nothing to lose. It doesn't look like they're employing too many strategies, or at least too many in-depth strategies. It's a lot of pushes. It's a lot of falling back. And for them, they just need to go ahead and just test every single one of these battles. Unless they possibly have a 100-point lead, that's when I would be okay with setting them.
All right, let's see. 2-1 hill advantage from Hive early on. Bit of a mismatch, though, over on the A hill, and it's going to be Wichita Wolves with a man advantage of 3. Gary's having a bit of trouble going for the exits. A bit of a split push, though. Rocky not with his boys, and an opportunity opens up to bring it to a 2v2, now 2v1. Addvers dancing around. He's going to get dropped. Meanwhile, though, you do got Kardia, who's still going to be up ahead. Kardia an opportunity maybe to win this 1v2, but can't push through the Lancer shots, unfortunately, so he's going to have to concede and give A up to Wichita Wolves. Only momentarily. Hive, though, they're back with a vengeance off the respawn, and Wichita Wolves having to break away as Zoom takes down Toti.
I like how they're trying to play into their numbers, play into their game. They have multiple people on the map. They just need to wait for Rocky to capture that hill and join the fray and join the fight. Unfortunately enough, Gary wins a massive 1v1 on the other side of the map, and I call it massive because that's going to give that go-ahead second hill on over to Hive and force the Wichita Wolves to make a play here. And the only play that they have, unfortunately enough, is going to be a 3v3 play. So they either have to push into that or try to allow PushyZ into another 1v1 against Gary.
Wichita Wolves need to stay together. One of the things that hurt them on Ritual was consistently breaking out. Even if you saw them traveling as a pack, as a 3-man unit, or at times, a 2-man unit, still one was, a little bit ahead. They were staggered. Therefore, Hive took advantage of that and was able to isolate member after member. They did the same thing just a little bit earlier as Hive was looking, or Wichita Wolves was looking to take A originally, and Rocky was by himself. But that right there was just an absolute collapse, and Wichita Wolves falling behind. Gary holding on to cover a little bit too long there. I don't know what was happening with that one, but PushyZ pushes right through him. Hive, though, still an opportunity to take this win despite the issues from Gary, but 222 to 161, and Gary is, in fact, going to be in
Gary's
spawn,
gone,
but I think this is a
Gary's
live round.
He didn't have any weapons in his hand off of respawn. That doesn't matter, though. Kardia kind of using that as bait, probably seeing him lag out. There's a free hill on the other side of the map, so for Hive, he's probably calling it out. No worry, guys. Tranquilo. No reason to stress. No reason to worry. This round is going to come easy. No reason to hurry. And he's actually going to continue to extend forward, making sure nobody has an easy road to any one of these hills. And Hive will take round number 1 over the Wichita Wolves. And honestly, with Gary lagging out, he did his job long enough in that round to give them the victory.
Yeah, that's a big win. You have one of your teammates, lag out, and then all of a sudden it's a live round, and you start freaking out. Kardia made a good play, heading over to tank, winning that fight, or at least getting that that hill recovery. That was exactly what Hive needed to finish off 250 to about 200 and so. But well done. You know, Hive takes round number 1. We'll wait for Gary to get back into play. Zoom starting things off interestingly enough, putting down a long shot in round number 2. Means they're gonna fall a little bit behind Jacob, right? They're gonna fall a little bit behind when it comes to their weapons on the side. Obviously, I'm talking about a shock. I'm talking about ensigns, and it could, in fact, you know, maybe snowball.
This is exciting for Gears Esports, and honestly, I would not have any other opening matchup between a team like the Wichita Wolves trying to earn their stripes, trying to prove that they can be a team to beat. And this is a perfect showing because Hive is one of those same teams on the opposite side of that spectrum in the Pro League. They need to prove that they're not a team that was slept on all split long.
All right, live round, ladies and gentlemen. Gary is back into play. The sniper is looking to be picked up very quickly. Wichita Wolves just all gas, no brakes, my guy. Pushing directly through. PushyZ getting the sniper and getting out. Oh, what did I say? Getting out. Addvers with the bolt-off shots. Jesus Christ. We'll drop him. Zoom will recover. But Hive, look at these guys already pincering in Wichita Wolves. They're trying to take the whole enchilada here and go for the domination.
See, Kardia knows that sniper's in front of him. Instead of risking that sniper headshot, he pulls out his Lancer. Let me help Addvers a little bit, but he goes down. Great shot by Zoom, fired off on Addvers and lands some damage, and the cleanup is there as the Wichita Wolves overstack the neutral hill. But a flank coming in, they didn't finish that first elimination. Gary and Kardia are causing some trouble towards the back line. A quick down coming through. I do believe that is going to be an elimination for the Wichita Wolves as everybody in Hive tries to reposition, get out of that spot, and try to hold on to this neutral hill, but they're going to have bodies rotate to get the home hill back. This should be the moment that Hive uses to overthrow this position.
They're going to try, but Gary already running into a bit of a roadblock, dropping down. Great shot from Rocky to take down Toti with the heady, and now 2 more shots remain. He'll send one flying. Gary will go ahead and rotate up. Rocky trying to protect the sniper, but also his life as Hive continues to push up. Gary, though, from the flank, looking to disrupt Wichita Wolves, but it only does momentarily. Great recovery from Wichita Wolves. You mentioned BODIEZ rotating over to get A, and what looked like a disastrous start, or at least a rough start for Wichita Wolves, now could turn and flip the script here, as they do have a minor point deficit, but surely they'll retake that very shortly.
Yeah, this is where things get a little bit tougher, or would, I should say, unless they've woken up from that slumber that was that first 2 maps, because now Hive, you got to think they have a little bit more experience, especially in these 2v2s. They're trying to spread that defense thin, but Toti's going by himself. You got players that are a little bit late to the fray, and the Wichita Wolves are not taking advantage. They're allowing Hive to get in this position. They're allowing these smokes to get loose, and they're allowing Hive to step up to the plate and possibly knock this one out of the park, depending on how this battle goes, as A is now being decapped by Toti. Back-to-back downs. A late rotation coming in from Zoom, who's going to get the revive, but in fact, a revive followed by a team kill elimination. That lead from the Wichita Wolves is diminishing before our very eyes.
Finishing before our very eyes, like you said, this is a big loss for Wichita Wolves if they do in fact lose this round. Still close enough for them to recover, and it's going to start on A. Well, player 8 is going to break off by himself. BODIEZ looking to take a 1v2 onto A. Yikes. Meanwhile, on Tank, again, splitting up. Rocky pushes first, and then shortly after, I was able to recover not only the tank hill, but also the other hill of the home hill of Wichita Wolves. And that is a big loss, in my opinion, for Wichita Wolves, who had that great breakout. They ran into adversity. They recovered quickly, but then just as quickly as they recover, Hive retakes the lead, retakes the advantage, and ends the round.
You got to give up to Hive, man.
You do.
Play after play. And that's the thing. They're not getting over aggressive on one side, especially when they know they have flanks coming through. Kardia, one of those rounds. You got Gary doing it a couple times, a couple of these rounds so far today in the matchup as a whole. And the thing is, it's not just the flank that I admire. It's how everybody plays into that flank. They go ahead and cause that distraction so that way nobody can turn around and try to take a quick 2v1 on that player that's flanking. So Hive, they've definitely have taken every single beat down during that regular season, and they've taken them in strides. They've taken them at learning lessons, because this is a definite better version of Hive than we've seen so far.
Without question, this Hive roster, I mean, it gets me excited. It gets me pumped up because I needed to see what Hive can bring to the table during the major. And I must say, they are handling this series incredibly well and showcasing that they're not underestimating Wichita Wolves, right? Wichita Wolves isn't necessarily playing bad. Hive is just playing at the pro caliber level that I needed to see all pro league long. But a great breakout, it seems, from Wichita Wolves here. But Toti, look at this, at a 1v2, takes down 2, doubles back for the 3rd, but he is going to get pinned. Oh my lord! Jesus, Toti! This guy is on fire. He went from 1 kill and a plethora of assists to picking up 3 back to back to back.
I feel like no matter which team you ask when this match is done, yo, how'd your match go? That's the clip you're going to show your friends. This is exactly how the match went. Toti, no matter how bleak it looks for Hive, they come out on top, and he connects with the headshot. Gary, not letting anybody sneak around. Rocky, you got to go ahead and play hide and seek a little bit more, because that wasn't a good spot to kind of hide in, as Gary just connects with shot after shot. And even if he doesn't, he's getting the information, because you see 2 players are ready to stop this push, or at least attempt to stop this push that is going to come through from the Wichita Wolves.
It's definitely going to be coming through, and they can shut this down. Well, Wichita Wolves are going to have probably 2 more chances to retake control, but they're going to be running a bit thin. Kardia, great damage outputted up at the front. 10 toes down, gets 1 drop. Addvers with the retro will finish off a 2nd. Now, the rest of the High boys can kind of close in, but a great shot from Rocky will take down Gary and Kardia will also be finished off. Addvers looking to make a bit of a rotation now. Zoom surely is going to see him, and now Addvers is kind of stuck in mid with nowhere to go as Wichita Wolves take the 2-1 and the win condition back.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, I was about to say, we cannot handle that. He almost did. He already had the damage on to Zoom to kind of start that fight. Quickly turns, burns that other player to the ground, but for Zoom, definitely still has his work cut out for him. There's a neutral hill down there. He knows 2 players are there, even though he didn't necessarily see Gary. He knows Gary was behind the tank. He did see Kardia, so he's given that information on over to his teammates. But in fact, the rotation's coming in on the other side of the map. They're trying to take it 3v2 as quick as possible, and this is where the Wichita Wolves need to take a 2v1 on their own. PushyZ's gonna get dropped. Rocky's just trying to stay alive and buy time. He's gonna get dropped as well, as 2 players are they're barely entering this hill, as the points are favoring Hive by just a few seconds. But after this battle is going to be won, it should be a bunch more, as PushyZ looking like he's going to go down, or at least not have a chance, as Kardia and Addvers continues to put that pressure on so they can get that 2nd hill underneath their control. And honestly, no matter what happens here, this one should be over.
It should be over indeed, and man, Addvers host Kardia hitting the shot on Rocky, and that is going to be solidified. Hive is going to take a 3-0 lead. And now that brings into conversation that I had a little bit earlier. Round 2, Sniper is placed by Wichita Wolves on tank. And I said it, if they go down 3-0, they're already behind when it comes to their power weapons. Are they going to try to continually catch up, or are they going to try and change things even more by placing a power weapon at Heli up top? And that is a possibility, as we're going to see maybe a torque bow. Nope, they're going to try and catch up. And honestly, they can't fall too far behind. I agree with that play. The retro is in, but next round, if they're down 4-0, now they're going to be trying to go for the quick pick against the shock. And that's not going to make life easy by any means at all. Wichita Wolves, we need new life right now, or this series could be over 3-0.
Enemy contact!
Nerd Reflections right here, right now, and it does. I agree with you. Down 3-0, it starts with this round here. You can't go down 4-0. You can't go down 2 maps to none and expect to have a comeback of a lifetime, as Gary gets that first blood onto BODIEZ. Quick 2v1, he's going to be taken advantage of. And on the other side of the map, towards his neutral, Hive said, go ahead. Hop into that neutral. We're just going to put that damage. We won the other side of the map, so this sandwich is definitely going to come in. A Wichita Wolves sandwich as they get that first down onto Zoom. Kardia's holding on to that angle. Nobody can really advance forward. Rocky goes down. Bait and switches in. It's looking bleak. It's looking bad. 2 players are going to fall. That hill is going to change hands. On the other side, though, Gary is just trying to be a distraction, and by time, he was able to get a trade on 1 along with Kardia. PushyZ, he has to be the hero. He has to have a Herculean effort, gets the decap, but how much more can he do? Reinforcements are on the way, and I think the time has been bought to go ahead and prolong Wichita Wolves' lives.
Did Kardia get 2? Kardia got 2 in the meantime, and that leaves Zoom by himself. No, he does have some help with BODIEZ. There was a sliver of an opportunity there. If Hive would have fully committed on the A after Kardia picked up the 2, maybe they get the domination. But Jacob, honestly, the smarter play was to back off, especially with Wichita Wolves having that pressure on the Kardia. If Kardia makes a pop-off play and finishes off all of them, cool, they get the domination, but there was no risk in backing off. Now we see the battle once again up in front. Toti is going to be at the tip of the spear, and BODIEZ and Zoom are going to go ahead and bait and switch to go ahead and concede onto C, take it over. Well done, but a good recovery from Hive onto A. Wichita Wolves trying to get back into this round, but every time they try, they fall further and further behind.
Yeah, it seems like Hive kind of set up that prevent defense, knowing the Wichita Wolves need a sort of a Hail Mary opportunity. They're giving up the little position. They're giving up the short plays, but when it comes to actually holding down those hills, that's when they're striking. That's when they're holding the line. 2 hills to 1. Over 200 points. 2v1 for that A hill. BODIEZ is working by himself. There's no teamwork going through on the Wichita Wolves, and that's why you see Addvers cement himself another elimination and capturing yet another home hill of the Wichita Wolves, where no points are being gained, and it's going to take a massive, it's going to take 6 miracles in 1 as Kardia gets a flank, forcing another team kill out. Hive will secure yet another round as they're cruising to a 4-0 shutout.
That one was 250 to 93. Hive had such an explosive initial. Once they took the reins and they took control, there was really no life from Wichita Wolves at all. And I'm seeing a player inch up closer and closer to 20K. I think he's at 17K damage, but what a job from Hive. I mean, really, this is the series that they need to come out explosively. That's Toti. Again, an analyst said it best, right? Production team set it up well. Toti, you give him a Lancer, and the damage that he's going to output is going to be tremendous per 10 minutes. And, I mean, he has really exemplified that throughout all of the maps that we've seen, Ritual, Ephyra, and ultimately now here on Vasgar and Wichita Wolves. You know, this is a series that I was very excited for, and I got to say I'm disappointed. I really am, but hey, when there's a will, there's a way, and Wichita Wolves, it's a long hill to climb. But they must climb it. Let's just see if they can. Great opening kill from PushyZ.
Big opening kill, and that's what's needed to spark life in the Wichita Wolves, and a spark life in the Zoom. He gets number 2. PushyZ gets number 3. Everybody getting a piece of that pie. And if BODIEZ can get this one, yep, 4 slices. Everybody eating on the Wichita Wolves, as Gary's going to be the last hope to try to prolong this round. Body shot coming in. No reset on the hill. And the Wichita Wolves have finally struck gold. 36 seconds. They got their first round.
I love it. I do. Wichita Wolves never giving up, never surrendering. Is it a bit too late? No, it's not. Yes, they're down 4, or they were down 4-0. Now it's 4-1. But like I said, if there's a will, there's a way. And as long as the map is live, there's always a chance to come back. And Wichita Wolves are looking to come back. They finally do catch up, obviously having that shock on their side of the things. They do have the Bold Talk. Meanwhile, Toti will upgrade to the Retro, 1 step away from the Ensign. No disables coming out just yet. Obviously, Hive would be the one to use it. Maybe they use it the next round if Wichita Wolves bring it forward at 2. But as of now, business as usual, trying to work up for those Ensigns and the shocks. Wichita Wolves on this side of things on arrivals, not going to fully commit this time around for the sniper, Jacob. They're going to split up 2-2. They're prioritizing the objective, but what a shot from Rocky to take down Toti.
Trying to even it up with this 4-player sent over here out of the gate by Hive as PushyZ goes down. Rocky gets another one, but I wonder what the call was. There was nobody on the other side of the map, but in fact, they're going for a Mr. Krabs play. I love the attempt coming through. Zoom gets taken out by Kardia, who lines up the headshot to perfection. And I love that strategy call overall by Hive, or I should say by the Wichita Wolves. They went ahead, had 2 players there against 4 of Hive. They knew exactly what their teammates were doing. They got the call. Nobody's going to be on this side of the map. They captured the neutral. They kept it on trucking all the way to the home hill of Hive. Unfortunately enough, the players of the Wichita Wolves on the neutral could not stay alive long enough, so that way they got taken back on the home hill, and now they're backtracking all together. Kardia connect with another headshot, almost a body shot. So even though I'm talking about all these great things that Wichita Wolves are doing, Hive is seemingly 1 step ahead yet again.
1 step ahead, like you said, once again. Wichita Wolves starting to come back, though, with the 2-1 hill advantage. Jacob, Hive slowing things down a bit. All right, so sniper in the hand of Kardia. Yo, I thought somebody was in my house. I can't even lie. That's why I was a bit silent there, bro. I was starting to freak out, man. But everything's good. We're all right because the Batman's watching over me, okay? We got Hive up 4-1. 2-1 hill advantage for Wichita Wolves. 3-man push, though, for Hive. And Kardia hits a great body shot to follow it up with a nice second on the PushyZ. Is Hive going to be able to sneak this round away? It's looking like it. Steady shots from Toti. He's been dominating this fight over here on D. And the job just got much more difficult from Rocky as he does get flanked behind. It looks like Hive might be able to lock up this round shortly. No, Wichita Wolves will in fact recover, but they're going to have to get the ball rolling shortly because Hive, they've got the win condition.
I love the way Toti played that last exchange. He knew I just need to cement myself, my teammates on the wheel. As long as he doesn't push me, he's just putting himself into his own demise. Great cross coming out, though, from Hive as they continue to not give up any inches for free when it comes to the Wichita Wolves. Push is going through, but finally Zoom and PushyZ are able to get that elimination onto Addvers. They definitely have their work cut out for them. They need that second hill underneath their hands, and it looks like they want that second hill to be the home hill of Hive, so they got more push to come through. Kardia goes down. Toti seemingly like the last hope, but reinforcements are there just in the nick of time, so even though they're going to get the decap, it doesn't look like they can get the capture just yet, so the Wichita Wolves, their work is not done just yet.
Not done just yet, man, but this would be such a big round for them to take, and the kill feed lights up red. The opportunity to win is here. They get the win condition in 15 seconds. They'll have it. Kardia forced to go heroic in the moment. BODIEZ, though, not going to let it happen. He'll shut him down. Toti now back with the refresh, and PushyZ on the opposite end. And Jacob, I think Wichita Wolves are in fact going to be able to lock in this round as Toti does fall. Addvers fighting once again too, and that's going to be GG. Wichita Wolves are going to bring it 4-2. They're still alive.
Yeah, slowly but surely climbing out from that hole they put themselves in very, very early on, not only in the series, but the map as well. That's been the trend. They've been putting themselves in a hole. They've had a good showing trying to climb out of it, but after 2 maps, they have been unsuccessful. But maybe third time is the charm, and these weapon placements are going to be huge on their side, but instead they just kind of keep it simple. And I think that's kind of a little bit of what you're talking about. You start to get on a roll, you start to get to momentum, and that's where you might want to keep it simple in some aspects.
And I think keeping it simple is the best way to go about it. I really do. And you know, Wichita Wolves, they know what has been successful for them throughout the Challenger Series. They know what makes them tick as a team. I'm fairly confident they know what you know, their DNA is. They've got their looks. Just keep it like that. Keep it going. You know, don't try to reinvent the wheel. As much homework as you've done, that's great, right? You know your opponents you're going against, but at the end of the day, you also know what works for you, and that is what counts. Gary going for the pick onto the sniper. A lot of damage being output, and he goes for a shot on the PushyZ, but doesn't connect just yet. Trying to find his opportunity for a bit of an exit, and he looks to have found it, plus a shot at a BODIEZ. What a shot that was, Jacob.
Yeah, that's going to open up that window towards the backside to where Kardia is going to go for that neutral. Everybody on Hive, they know this is a 3v3. They just need to make sure and spot out anybody rotating around. And for, I do believe that is Addvers, he has to spot out BODIEZ, and that's exactly what he does. He knows that information on the other side of the map to Kardia is so crucial, as Gary is just trying to keep everybody's heads down and allow his teammates to rotate.
Lining up the shot. Nice body on the zoom. Toti's not there for the follow-up, though, unfortunately. So for Hive, they're going to have to fight once again and work hard. Toti drops. Gary now backing up. Hive with the 2-1. Obviously, the win condition in play, but Wichita Wolves all over the map. They're just trying to solidify a 2-1 hill advantage, but my worry for them is player 4 is on the flank. Gary is going to be there looking over the shoulder of Rocky and co. PushyZ obviously trying to exit as far as he can, but he's not going to be able to. Addvers will also drop, and in the meantime, Hive is looking to lock this up in a way of domination. Wichita Wolves, you got to get a touch, and they will on D.
Trying to stay alive here. Not allow that triple cap domination to go through, but I do like how they didn't necessarily go for the instant cap. They're trying to continue to push these players back, so that couple of seconds could be big, but it also could hurt them towards the very end, as Hive now reached that 150-point mark. Won't take them long to reach 200, so these 3 players that are gearing up to push that lower half of the map to try to take over Hive's home hill has to come through quick, but PushyZ goes down. That's going to stagger him a little bit, and that gives out the call for Hive. They have to take a 2v1 on the other side of the map. BODIEZ able to get it down onto one of the 2 players. Unfortunately enough, Addvers goes big yet again to keep him going. That splits up the Wichita Wolves even more. That forces PushyZ to watch out. He sneaks 1 player. Can he go back-to-back onto Gary? No, he cannot. And Gary is having a series of his life to start off this major.
and he needs to have that series. I've been so impressed with Gary throughout Pro League Split 2, and I gotta say, I haven't been disappointed at all by his performance here in his first series in Group A. Incredible performance from Hive, and it looks as if Wichita Wolves' time has run short in this series, and they won't have the chance to play against Hive until tomorrow, maybe, but at this point in time, Hive looking absolutely just unrelenting and unstoppable as they will win Vasgar 5-2 and win the series 3-0 as Wichita Wolves will take the L and Hive will take the W. And my lord, did they take that W, Jacob?
Yeah, they took that W and ran with it. And honestly, you got to give it up to them because, like I said, after a split of woes, a split of things just going wrong, start off the major, they came out on fire. Just like you said, 28,000 damage. Toti, the walking turret.
The walking turret, I like that. Hey, honestly, he's got a new nickname now. I like that. You know, Toti is a guy that, again, analysts said if you give a Lancer to him, that outputs, that damage that he can output in what, 10 minutes time is incredible, and he exemplified that throughout this entire series. I played more as a cohesive unit, more as a team, and honestly, better as a team than I think the entirety of Split 2, outside of maybe a couple of series where they look great. And obviously, I'm talking about that series, I think, against Team Queso, which went the absolute distance. But Jacob, Hive, they look great. Their chances to have success in Group A in this major now become real and now have really elevated to the point where I think Hive is a serious contender.
Yeah, we've definitely have shown that their potential has always been there. It's about bringing out the best of these players at the right time because you can have individual moments, but if it's not as a team, it means almost absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. So for Hive, even though this is just the Wichita Wolves, they have to continue on with their momentum. They have to take a lot of the things they've done right in this series and figure out how they can replicate that against each and every one of the teams this weekend.
Yeah, replicated indeed. If Hive continue to do stuff like that, they're going to be scary. Imagine if Toti gets top 3 once again with this new roster. We always talk about Toti. He builds rosters and he makes them successful, and he's looking to do just the same with this Hive roster. Did it with F&I, he did it with Noble, he did it with Nimbus back in the day, and he's looking to do it again here with the Hive roster. Let's bring it to Analyst Desk and break down the action, boys. That was an exciting series for Hive. Wichita Wolves, we had a lot of hype about them fall out, but it seems as if that hype fell very short.
We did, yeah, a lot to break down, that's for sure. But before we jump into breaking things down, can I just talk about PR? You're looking great, brother. The swag is like 10 out of 10. I'm liking the lineup, the buzz cut, the hair.
I'm trying. Thank you so much, John. But you know what I mean? I had such great examples in my life, kind of looking up to, Fallout, Ribs, Toby after a while. I got to give Blaze a good shout out. Some great mentors that I've been able to
best looking desk right here. We can all just agree. We got a good looking crew, you know what I'm saying? Hope y'all
we really do.
Jokes aside, though, great cast, boys. Great match. Thanks so much for crushing it as always. Taylor, you already know I get lost in your eyes too, brother. Take it easy, man.
I love you. Guys. I really love you.
Nothing but love for these guys. And listen, Valentine's Day was just a couple days ago. We got to keep the love train going. But no, jokes aside, Ribs, I followed you into the sunset, and it turned into a nightmare. An absolutely horrendous nightmare as the Wichita Wolves dominated there 3-0. What happened?
I wanted to hype up the Wolves, but they came out flat. They weren't playing well. On the side of Hive, I love the point that Jacob made. They didn't have a great showing through Pro League, but it's one of those things, John, we always talk about it. Toby, I know you've heard it. You learn from your losses, right? Your losses is your best teacher. So for them to go 3-6 in Pro League isn't necessarily a bad thing. Hive was just playing on all cylinders. They were on the same page. They were shooting the same people, and then they had clutch moments. Once we get towards the Ephyra, we'll see that clutch from Addvers, a 1v3 starting off early, and then that clutch from Kardia. Even though it ended in a stalemate, Kardia turning that 1v2 into a stalemate, just picking the Wolves apart. I do want to say, early in the weekend, I still think the Wolves need to warm up. That obviously wasn't the best version of the Wichita Wolves, but them not being able to take out Hive isn't a good start for them in Pool A, knowing that the Knights are also in that pool.
Yeah, and one thing I really loved actually about Ephyra while it's on our screen is the strategies that Hive were incorporating, right? Usually you'd want to just bank on getting the drop shot, right, as Wichita Wolves were doing, but each time Hive just stuck to their guns, right? They just went for that torque bow, and you saw all those amazing sticks that we've seen on our screen of the past match was truly fantastic from Hive. You know, the composure just to go up against a drop shot strat that consistently and do well, I think it says so much about this Hive roster, right? Everyone turning up, all 4 players doing insanely well, of course, you then come to Vasgar, where it's almost like a game of stats at that point for these guys, right? It wasn't Toti, as we usually allude to, who needs to lead this team. No, in fact, it was Kardia, right? Finishing 20-7 with 24k damage in the end for that final scoreboard. Hive just had a really, really strong performance in their first game of the day, and I'm super impressed.
They looked so incredibly sharp. You did see a little something from the Wichita Wolves trying to mount a little bit of a comeback there, Escalation, but already down 4-0, so difficult to do. And of course, Hive was able to close things out. Ribs, in your eyes, what was it about Hive that's playing so great? And do you think they have a chance? Even Taylor said maybe top 3 in the future for them. Maybe they have a chance to do it against the likes of United and Pittsburgh Knights and others.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to one of our teams that's not within that top 5 that we're really calling the championship contenders, I think Hive is right outside of that. And, I mean, main reason being is Toti. We talk about how strong the Wolves are, but that's in the Challenger Series, right? This is a completely different cut when you get to that those top teams, those top 8 teams. And Toti has been there before. He's been in the final just 3 events ago. I mean, when you think of the whole pool of Challenger players, all of them, whatever it is, 40-something players, Toti's better than all of them. Then you get into the top 8 teams and the pro teams. I still put Toti in like a top 10 player. Yes, he's on Hive now and he's with players that maybe won't get him to the level he wants to get to, but Toti's the type of player that's going to lift up his teammates. He's going to make so many plays that's going to help his team do well, and then throughout that series you're also seeing him clutch up. So I mean, it's just hard for the Wolves to deal with that type of firepower that's coming from Toti.
Yeah. You'll see the maps here. 396 on Ritual playing Control, 6-2 on Execution, Ephyra, and 5-2 Escalation. Vasgar was really all Hive all day. Toby, any final thoughts on your end?
Yeah, let's not forget that 396 scoreline, right? Hive are a team that went 2-7 in Pro League. And then here they are turning up in their first match of the day, yes, admittedly against a challenger team, a really good one of that, in Wichita Wolves, and they dish out 396? I mean, that is huge for me. I think that's a really big telltale, actually, in terms of perhaps how they're going to go forward throughout this major. They look like a different team on that mode, at the very least, and they look like an incredible team map to map there. I'm really looking forward to see what they do this weekend.
Yep, and we were kind of highlighting the Pittsburgh Knights versus Wichita Wolves matchup, and who knows? Obviously, this game of rock paper scissors, this matchup game that we always talk about. Maybe they'll be able to do better against PK, but that Hive versus PK match will be a interesting one because we know what this Hive team is capable of, the skill that they have. Obviously, Addvers, Kardia, players that have played alongside against the Pittsburgh Knights for a very long time. Toti from Noble and everything he was able to accomplish with that roster. That's going to be a fun one. That is for sure. So we are going to most likely be jumping to an interview here with Toti, the winner from the Hive roster, in just a bit. We'll be waiting to get that set up. We got the one and only, the lovely Jordan Curl, who hasn't had a chance to make her debut on broadcasts yet, but I'm excited to have her back and hosting and interviewing in Gears Esports. It doesn't feel like a Gears Esports event without Jordan, that's for sure. But if we could take a look at round 2 pool play matches, that'd be very, very interesting to kind of talk through some of these upcoming round 2 matchups. But Ribs, in Pool A or in other pools, what are some matchups you're looking forward to?
I mean, of course, I bring it up time and time again until we get there. The Kansas City Pioneers versus Rides, that's going to be match of the day. I believe that's our last match on broadcast, so I'm going to be looking forward to that. Of course, the United versus Retirement. I mean, the storylines are just building throughout the weekend. I love that first match of the day, starting out with the 3-0. Hive just saying we're going to come out as a different team. And I want to see other teams make a statement like that moving forward. Pro League, E-Days, no matter what it be, Challengers, Open Series, it's all a process that leads into this weekend. The stakes are at its highest now. I want to see these teams kind of play above themselves, grow throughout this weekend, and that's the storylines that I'm looking forward to.
Love it. Toby, from this matchup that we just saw, you kind of talked about a couple highlight stats type of players. Pick one person. Who was the MVP of that match in your eyes?
I'm going to say Kardia. Yeah, I have to give it to him. He was really, really good, especially on that Vasgar match, and it's a player you need to keep an eye on for sure, as he's proven time and time again in majors that he can really perform as an individual. I'm so excited to see him and the rest of the team this weekend, as I mentioned, and honestly, it might actually be a little bit of a dark horse to sneak into the top 4, honestly.
Oh, baby.
I think the reason that they're underlooked, personally, is because of their record in Pro League, but again, if you look at the rosters side by side, scale them all up in a list, you'd think the Hive roster would be doing way better, right, than their Pro League performance. Rebel is a team, of course, in the past that didn't perform well in the Pro League, but then did well in the Major. Perhaps Hive can do a similar thing today.
That's what you love about Gears Esports Majors. Anyone can turn up, anyone can show up. That is for sure. Well, hey, I mentioned an interview, mentioned the wonderful Jordan Curl, the homegirl herself. Let's go ahead and throw it over to Jordan live with an interview with Toti.
Thank you so much, Paula. I've got Toti with me now. So listen, Toti, this one has been described as many things by the casters. We heard some suffocation, some fathering of sons, but no matter how you want to describe it, it was a quick 3 and out for you guys. Why was it so important to come out here with such a big statement to kick off this weekend?
It was important for us to come up with a big statement just to get our confidence back up again. We've had a very rough Pro League split with us four. Again, just to mainly get our confidence up.
Yeah, obviously it was not the showing that you guys want to put on, especially after like the historic Pro League that you've had on the former Noble roster. How has your experience really going to shape this team, and what have you told to your guys coming into this weekend to forget about the Pro League performance?
Just go with open eyes. Like, again, this is the major. This is what really matters. And just leave everything along here. Like, whatever happens, happens. And that's it.
Absolutely. So it was a fantastic showing, as I mentioned, for you guys, but also for you individually. I want to say at the end of the broadcast, at the end of the game, PR said you were a walking turret, over 20K damage in multiple maps, multiple assists. How do you personally feel coming into the weekend?
I feel good. I mean, it's just the usual thing I do. I always been a very good support player. I've been a do-it-all player. I've been whatever I need to be. It's just my job, and I just have to do it. That's it.
Yeah, and also at the top of the broadcast, the analyst has sort of discussed how control was one of the modes that you really need to focus on, and one of the hurdles that this team will have to face. But obviously in this match, coming out 300 to 96 was no problem. But what adjustments have you sort of been making to try to improve in that game mode?
Most improvements that we're trying to do is just, again, keep focused, keep level-headed, making sure that we don't make as much as very rogue mistakes as we've been doing, again, during the Pro League. That was mostly what we were having issues with. Again, control, we most have issues with very high-level teams. Usually the bottom-level echelon teams, like a top challenger team, like, we're not supposed to have an issue with them. Like, come on now.
Right. Yeah, and obviously there was no problem. Like I said, quick 3 and out. So last question that I really want to ask you, are there any of your former teammates that you're looking to face off against now that you all are split up? Any blood there that we can look forward to this weekend?
All of them.
All of them. Okay,
Yep,
just simply all of them. All right, very straightforward and to the point, Toti. Thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you. We do have some familiar faces coming up next on the main stage. E-United versus Retirement will be headed to the main battle. Can't wait for that one. So excited. You are watching the Gears Winter Major presented by the Batman.